Clean version.
Monkeyboy's YouTube channel is stance independently and intersubjectively the best YouTube channel. Subscribe. I'm talking from the heart.
Can we please all tap the screen and share the live? We'll try and get someone up here to interact and produce an argument for any of these topics, please. For the love of God. Hey, which one do you want to talk about?
Trans women are women.
Okay, let's be clear. Do you appreciate the distinction between sex and gender?
To be honest, no.
Okay, so then do you know what gender means?
Isn't that just
No, it is not sex. It's not your genitalia. It's not the size of your gametes, and it's not the pair of chromosomes. The way gender language is used by folk people, experts in gender studies, and by psychologists refers to some type, and by sociologists and gender anthropologists is just a social archetype. Now, sorry, I'm getting a call. So yeah, all I mean by gender is a social archetype. I don't know if you've been to college. Presumably, at least now, ever since 2010s, it's been popularized in North America that you take gender study classes first year, right? So I would suspect if you're under the age of 30, you probably should know what gender is. So I'm assuming you're either haven't went to university, either haven't took a genders class, or, which is strange because even people who never took gender classes know what gender means. But okay, to describe, yeah, that's fine. I'll just define it for you. What it means for someone to be a gender is just the general set of characteristics when the general set of characteristics are either masculine or feminine. Or there's some type of indifference. You can have like a gender neutral type of gender. But in any case, what it means to be woman or man, that's strictly gender language. That's not sex language. Male and female is sex language. So man and woman refers to the general set of characteristics when the general set of characteristics exhaustively is either feminine or masculine. Now that that's clear, here's a scenario in which I can describe to kind of intuition pump what it means for someone to be a woman. Suppose there's a man, meaning they have XY chromosomes, right? And they have almost exactly a female body. They have a female genitalia, they have breasts, they wear female clothing, they do only female activities, they have female social roles, so they're more into knitting, or maybe they're the cook in their house, etc. They attend to kids, all this stuff, right? They look feminine, act feminine, sound feminine, all this stuff. They have breasts, a vagina, big ass, stuff like that, right? Long eyelashes. Now, and he has XY chromosomes. That is what we mean by woman, because considering the general set of characteristics this agent has, the general set of characteristics are feminine. Now that qualifies a person as being female, culturally relative. Now, do we understand that?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the size of your gametes or your chromosomes. Okay, so why I'm saying this claim is obvious when trans women say they're women is because when they make statements about apparent social characteristics where it should be visually obvious, they have a general set of feminine characteristics, and they assert they're a woman, that is saying something trivial because it's not informing you anything new. Given we can infer that based on certain phenomenal facts, right? Just the facts that they either look feminine, sound feminine, they have certain aesthetics, maybe disposition, psychology, etc. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't typically the people who say these people are delusional, etc., are people who are extremely confused about very basic language and just don't appreciate a basic gender device or psychological device, which is gender, which is not biological.
Okay.
So when trans women, all it means to be transgender is when your sex and your gender are divorced, right? Like if I'm male and I'm female, or I'm male and I'm a woman, which means I have generally feminine characteristics. Right, how much likes do we have? I have no clue. All right, y'all. Let's see. Hey, which year do you want to talk about?
I want to talk over the existence of God.
Do you have an argument God exists?
Yeah, I actually do.
What is it?
You were the contingent argument, right?
Sorry?
Are you aware of the contingent argument for God?
The contingency argument.
Yeah.
Well, there's many types of contingency arguments. I can give you the traditional contingency argument and see if that's the one you're using. Is it saying everything that's contingent requires a causal explanation, the universe is contingent, there cannot be an infinite regression of causal explanations, therefore there's a first contingent fact?
Yeah, similar, but I would add a little bit more stuff to it. I would,
Okay. And by contingent, let's just be clear. Do you mean some type of ontological dependency, or do you mean, I don't know if you're familiar with modality. Do you know what modality is?
Yeah, I would say modality isn't any modality a way or scope of how you view reality, like stuff like epistemic modality and so on.
I'm asking you, by the language contingency, is that used to mean ontological dependency or unnecessary?
I would say both. I would use it in a way where it's just a thing that's reliant on something else. And yeah.
Or I think either you're the guy who said this funny stuff last time, or okay. And just to be clear, I want this to be apparent that you recognize this. No person who runs the contingency argument uses the word contingency in the way you do. Is that clear? Okay. Literally, no philosopher of religion. That's not a criticism. I'm making that clear. So now what you're doing, just to be clear, is you're putting a greater stress on you epistemically, and it's not clear that you even, because there are no arguments in academic literature in philosophy of religion that supports the view you have. So given you probably don't know a lot of philosophy, I would doubt you even know basic tenets of philosophy. I just want to be clear, you're undertaking a kind of difficult task.
What's difficult about something being reliant on another and it not being necessary?
Because now you're saying that the object is ontologically dependent and that it's unnecessary.
No, when I say ontologically dependent, I mean as in it's relying on other set properties. I want to say ontologically dependent as in all reality is dependent.
Ontologically dependent means that it requires some other object to sustain its existence.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so to be clear, you're using it in both senses, right?
Yeah, I want to think something being reliant on another thing would be necessary. At least how I would go for defining.
So if an object, so you have the view if an object's unnecessary and ontologically dependent, then it requires a cause for its existence. Is that right?
Yeah.
And what's the argument supporting that?
Okay, sure. Do you want this syllogism or just like a basic rundown?
Give me whatever you got.
Okay, I got you. So if by virtue of epistemic modality, right, just going over that, it will allow for it to be more likely or come to the conclusion that everything is contingent. And by that, obviously, like you said, we want to appeal.
I don't grant you that.
No, but well, like I'm repeating.
I'm asking for a defense for the conditional statement.
Which one?
The only one. What do you mean? What other? Wait, you think there's a range of conditional statements we've spoken about? Because I only recollect one conditional statement.
Argument may hold many different conditionals, as in like a biconditional for my argument, obviously. Well, when you say conditional,
your argument didn't.
No,
have
yeah, I didn't go over it. I didn't get there yet, right? But my argument.
I'm talking about your stage 1 argument. That did not include a biconditional.
Yeah, so what do you want me to cover over?
So far, if you're tracking, you've gave a stage 1 argument. I asked what's the argument for the conditional in that argument, and now you're saying which conditional when the argument had one conditional being the first premise. Now, I just want to be clear since I don't know what really is the confusion, but the conditional to be clear is that if something is unnecessary and ontologically dependent, then it has a cause for its existence. What's the argument for that?
Yeah, like if you were like listening, right, I appealed to this, right, and I said we can draw this conclusion just based off of the modality, just going off what we know, right? This is how we can draw this conclusion.
Draw this conclusion. All you're saying is that it's epistemically possible. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean it's epistemically.
No one's denying that. I'm asking you for an okay. I'm not asking you to establish it's epistemically possible. It being epistemically possible isn't an argument in light of the proposition. I want to know what's the argument supporting the proposition.
Okay, but I'm saying that it's the case based off epistemic modality. So how would you continue this?
What do you mean it is the case based on epistemic modality? I asked you if by it's the case based on epistemic modality is all you're saying that it's epistemically possible. And you said yes, and I'm not disputing that it's epistemically possible. I'm asking you to give an argument supporting that conclusion.
Yes, that's why it's epistemic modality. Obviously, if I think it's the case, I'm always going to think it's possible.
Epistemic modality. Okay, epistemic modality is not a proposition, so I'm not understanding if there's even an argument.
I didn't say it was a proposition, but I'm saying it's the basis for like.
Okay, so now that you understand it's not an argument, I want to be clear if you have an argument supporting it.
Okay, again, right. So obviously we have the initial claim. Saying the basis behind it would just be epistemic modality.
Sorry, I'm just asking you what's the sorry. All I'm asking you is what's the argument in support of the proposition.
I said it wasn't a proposition. I didn't say it wasn't an argument. I said it wasn't a proposition. Your word, argument, proposition.
An argument. You understand if it's not a proposition, it thereby can't be an argument.
Okay, so that's
an argument.
Your word, if I say
you can't say the R word, now you're getting dropped. And an argument's a string of propositions. So if it's not a proposition on its own, then it follows that it's neither a string of propositions because there's nothing propositional in nature about that. So an argument has a propositional nature where it's a string or there's some connective. Well, maybe you don't want to say connectives, but at least there's a string of propositional statements. Now, what I was saying is you weren't saying anything propositional. Now, I'm not going to bring you back up, obviously, because you said the R word. Now, this Steve guy is literally mentally ill, and I'm not even trolling. I'll bring him up, but he probably won't go anywhere. Hey, which year do you want to talk about?
Prove God exists.
Do you have an argument God exists, Steve?
Well, I have evidence that God exists.
Okay, what's the evidence God exists?
The evidence.
Can we all tap the screen? Bro, we're at 3K likes. Get to 5K right now. Jesus Christ, y'all suck. Sorry, continue. What's the evidence? The evidence
that God exists is the observable intelligence within the designs. Now, hear me out.
I didn't understand that. Can you repeat that?
Okay, so the evidence that God exists is the example of his work, which are the perfect systems around us.
Okay, that's question begging.
Not really, because you have evidence, correct?
No, it's question begging to say the reason I believe God exists is because his works. because it's logically prior to there being works of God that there's first a God to produce works. Now, when it's in contention that there exists a God, then it can't be God doing works. That's the motivation to believe there's a God.
Why?
Is that clear?
Why?
I just explained how it's question begging.
But
The reasoning you gave presupposes God
Can I
exists.
ask you a question?
Now that's not granted. In
Can I
fact,
ask you
that's
a
the
question?
debate proposition.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you have college education?
Yep.
Yep, I can see that. And it's not letting you proceed to the evidence.
Sorry, you're not understanding. You're not tracking
You're
what's
not allowing
happening.
yourself to proceed because of the education you've received.
Okay, that's a claim that you presumably don't have an argument for. I don't know what about me having formal education implies I can't have some progressive conversation. But in any case, I am not interested in the meta. I did proceed to the evidence, and I made a criticism. If you were listening, I said the evidence you gave was question begging. I did not ignore the evidence. Oh my God. What was my response to the evidence you gave?
Well, why didn't we talk about the evidence?
I did. I made a response to it. Do you remember what that response was?
You started giving out because we didn't comply with your premises.
I started what? I didn't give premises.
You are talking about them. You're saying it's question begging. Like,
yeah, I said your evidence is question begging.
Like the conditions of debate. Like we're not. You won't even explore the evidence because I haven't satisfied your prerequisites to debate.
Sorry, I'm not talking about any prerequisites. You're not following. You gave an argument that's question begging. Is that clear?
I don't believe it. I don't believe that. You're saying prove.
Okay, let's go.
Prove God exists. Let's go step by step. Let's go. We can't explore that because you haven't satisfied the conditions.
I never said anything like that. Now you're just lying. Nope, it had nothing similar to do with that.
Okay, so let's look at the evidence then.
What I said was you presented evidence. The evidence was question begging. Then you said I'm not engaging with the evidence. When I made a criticism and showed how the evidence was question begging, I even gave an analysis.
What evidence?
The evidence of God's works.
Yeah. So what? Give me an example of the evidence of God's works.
Well, you mean the data?
Yeah, just any of the evidence. Give me the evidence that we're talking about here.
What do you mean? Do you mean give you the data?
Give me anything that, because you're saying you're considering the evidence.
Oh my God, this guy's so stupid. See, I told you this guy's like mentally ill. I talked with this guy on a number of accounts, and he's possibly top 10 dumbest people I've interacted with. And I'm not even joking about that.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Hey, which year do you want to talk about? Come on, let's continue. Wait, sorry. Why are we not at 5K likes? There's 100 people in here. You guys are terrible. You know what? I'll need to mute the chat just to motivate you guys to. Wait, how do I mute the chat? Sorry, continue. Which year do you want to talk about?
Which what? I'm not understanding that word at the moment.
Which topic here do you want to talk about?
Okay. First things first is.
Haha, no chat.
Try to convince you on anything. Fair enough, right? Because that's not.
I'm just asking you which topic here are you here to talk about?
How about let's say, do you believe God exists in you, or do you believe in God? I don't know your stance.
No. Do you have an argument God exists?
Well, yeah. I mean, I believe He exists. And I have ways to prove it.
Yeah, but you have You have an argument God exists?
Argument defined. It's not, I'm not really arguing. I'm just more theory crafting.
No, not argument like bickering, like we're shouting at each other. I mean argument as in
double advocate. What do you think about Pascal's wager? Do you know anything about that?
Pascal's wager is not an argument for theism.
No. Okay, so you're looking for a debate, just a roll out.
Not a debate, just an argument in light of God existing. Something that supports the existence of God.
Okay.
Yeah, Pascal's wager isn't something that supports the existence of God.
Fair enough. How about all right? What do you believe in Genghis Khan and Alexander? You believe these people existed?
You don't I don't know why you're asking me questions. I'm just telling you to give me the best argument you have.
It's the segue to the debate. So once you answer,
no, it's not. You don't need to know my beliefs. Just give me the best argument you have.
Well, for instance, you went to college, right? So
let's say I didn't. No, I didn't go to college.
Fair enough. I'm guessing you would believe in people that you've never met before, such as Alexander the Great.
I'm not. Just give me an argument God exists. Just do that.
I'm trying to on the segue. It's hard whenever you're
literally just skip. Okay, I'll just stop speaking entirely. So there's not going to be any questions asked. I'm not going to answer any questions. Produce the argument, then I'll respond with a criticism once delivered.
Okay. All right. The 500 eyewitnesses, right? What do you stance on that as far as that not being evidence as if? Because whenever I can't remember
500 eyewitnesses.
Yeah, that he
of
was,
what?
That God exists. I believe it was whenever I don't know if it was Moses. I'm a bit finicky with who, right? But I know there's 500 eyewitnesses. Man, who was it? Was it Paul? It might have been Paul.
But you're saying there's 500 witnesses about what's witnessed.
Good eyewitnesses of God's deeds during the Gospels, like him healing the blind, etc. The eyewitness accounts, the recorded accounts, etc.
Okay, well that becomes question begging. Saying the 500 witnesses of God's deeds just presumes there's a God that does deeds. So it's not inferring God's existence. It's saying that there's people who observed the acts of God, which in order to observe facts about God acting is just required in the background that there's a God. Why am I getting flagged?
So your stance.
I'm gonna. I got
Go
2
ahead.
flags in a row. I might need to restart. Let's hope I
I'm
don't
not
get
flagging
banned.
you, bro, so it's not
No,
me.
you're good. So there's 500 witnesses.
So what?
We can't say of God's deeds, right? That would become question begging.
All right. See, the premise is hard to work around, right? Because when you talk about historical figures, you almost have to go off that, no matter what historical figure, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, etc. Correct? Right? You almost have to go off of, well, they exist because of this writing, they exist because of this text, they exist because of this, right? So as much as it is question begging, like the way you're saying, it's also a double-edged blade, which is it's a hill that you're like essentially dying on, that you know that nobody can technically work past it, given the way that it's.
I don't understand what
Does
you're
that make
saying.
sense? Okay, so no
No.
matter what evidence outside of visual, like, because anything else is not like everything is a question with historical figures, because we don't know, because we were not there. So therefore,
I'm asking you to give me a non-circular reasoning to think there's a God.
how about just okay? How about for instance, if there's a painting, right? We can agree that there's a painter. If there's
No, I
no-
wouldn't agree, but I understand what you're trying to say. You're trying to run some type of clockmaker type argument now, but the clockmaker argument is beyond confused. Do you know anything about induction and why the clockmaker is just confused? Because if you don't know anything about statistical induction, target validity, cross-domain induction, or any of these concepts, you're not going to understand the type of Bayesian reasoning or critiques that go into clockmaker arguments.
I
So
understand.
here,
Go ahead.
sorry, you understand what?
I understand some of them. The
Some of
problem
what?
is some of the things you said. With that being
So
said,
which of the things do you understand? Does that make it easier? Which things do you
like 3 or
understand?
4, like, but you're
Okay.
getting anyway.
Okay, target validity. Do you know what that is?
Depends, not really.
Okay, do you know what cross-domain induction is?
Just enlighten me so we ain't gotta go through it, right? Like similar to.
Well, I'm going to enlighten you, but I'm first clarifying what you're saying, that you have some understanding of some of the things I named.
Well, I'm
So
trying
then
to
I don't.
figure out, like,
If I don't.
you want to debate, but you want to debate on your terms, right? And then when anybody tries
What?
to debate with you at that base time, you just run it back with well,
I don't know what you're talking about, but what you're doing is just meta.
no,
All
it's
I'm
not
doing
that.
is I'm going
You
over
want
the
to do
stuff.
segues too. I'm not trying to be rude, I swear, bro. Like I'm not trying to like disregard you in any way.
Look, all I'm doing is going over the things that you do recognize and don't, so I can understand what I do need to explain and what I don't. If you have an apprehenssion of some of these devices, I'm not going to thoroughly explain these devices.
So do
Because
you believe
that
in God?
would.
How about that? Do you believe in God or not? You need a
Wait,
basis.
sorry. We're not going to go to other questions. Currently, we're trying to understand, because now you mentioned a painting having a painter, and that's the type of clockmaker argument.
Just disregarding the
And
whole statement based off of what you were saying. That's what I'm saying. No
I
matter
didn't
what.
disregard anything.
No.
I didn't disregard anything. Look, you mentioned all paintings have painters. All I'm saying is that's an example of a type of clockmaker argument. And I'm trying to explain why those arguments are terrible. But first, you would have to understand basic tenets of inductive reasoning. So I'm trying to clarify, since I named a set of things that are relevant in this context, and you said I knew a few of those. If you know a few of those, it would hold time to explain those concepts. If you're aware of some of those concepts, I'm going to go one by one to see which you have an apprehension of and which you don't. For the ones you don't, I'll give you a semi-rigor analysis, so then we can progress the conversation
Go with that
by
then. So we can go.
furnishing you with those devices. Yes, that's what I've been doing.
Awesome. Let's go.
Okay, so do you know what cross-domain induction is?
I do not.
Okay, and you neither know what target validity is.
For this conversation, I do not. So enlighten me.
Do you know? Okay, well,
let's
hold on. Don't wait. Okay. Okay, let's wait. Let's calm down. I'm going linear. Let's just continue. Okay, so do you even know what induction is?
Yeah. Just
Okay.
define the define.
Okay,
what
you know.
Go from there. We gotta
Okay,
have
so
a base
that
today, bro.
let's wait. Let's not do this. I explained what I'm doing, so we don't need the additional speaking. Okay, so you know what induction is. Hopefully, you're. The thing is, the people on TikTok, I can't take them on their word. Can you give me a very, very vague or brief description of inductive reasoning?
So I know what you, in the context you're delivering it, right? Because there's a million things that you can deliver.
No, I've explained why I'm not. I've explained why I'm not going to do that.
Look, I really
Now, let's just get clear. Okay, we don't need the meta. Let's just go continue with the type of linearity method that. Look, let's just calm down and go step by step in the terms of the method that I've explained is the most linear progressive. So let's go. I've explained what the method currently is, so we're not going to do that because that would just be abrogating the method that I've gave you an explanation for why I'm doing and how I'm doing it, which is going thoroughly through each constitutive of inductive reasoning that's relevant to this context to see which devices you understand and which you don't, so I can explain the ones you don't. So you said you know what induction is. Just so we're clear, I'm not asking for a very nuanced explanation of inductive reasoning.
This is-
Give
so-
me
so-
a very brief, the most
I'm
briefest
doing this
analysis
for
you
a
can.
reason. So hold on. So I'm doing this for a reason. You
No,
see how
no,
you-
no, we're not, wait,
Hold
no,
on.
no, no,
You see
no,
how
we're
you
not,
can't get nothing
we're
through?
not, we're not
Because
gonna
I'm
do
not
this.
giving you anything, just like
Wait,
you're not giving
we're,
anything
wait,
to the
wait,
Anyways, I don't want to talk over you.
wait,
You're not
we're not, wait, we're not gonna do what you want to do. What you're doing is a pivot and would be abrogating the linear method that I've described. Now let's get clear. Just give me the most brief analysis of inductive reasoning that you can conjure. Just do that. It doesn't have to be nuanced.
But we're not doing that.
Then you can leave the live if you're not going to do that.
Fair enough then. But look, all I'm
Okay.
saying is, I mean,
I don't
Check.
care if what I'm not going to allow you to say whatever you want. Okay, look, I'm just going to drop you. You can come back if you're willing to have the type of linear discourse as described, and if the answer is no, just don't request back up. That's fine. I do not want the type of very slick, I don't want to say slick, the slippery type of discourse that allows for pivots or unpreliminary courses of questions or any of that, right? Now for you, which topic here do you want to talk about?
I kind of the first two, but I want to preface it by saying you cannot prove or disprove God.
Yeah, everyone who makes that claim has never generated an argument, so I don't care about that. And I really even don't care if you did have an argument for that.
Well,
all I'm going to
using
ask you,
the scientific method,
all I'm going to ask you, sorry?
You can't prove or disprove God using the scientific method.
No one made that claim.
I'm just clarifying.
Okay, God's not even a scientific entity. So, of course, when you say trivial things that you can't falsify a non-scientific object existing, you're not saying anything interesting. Okay. Do you think? Why do you think science doesn't talk about God? The existence of God is not a topic of science. Investigates the natural world. If God's the creator of the natural world, he's not something that scientists would be talking about, right? You can prove and disprove God with philosophical arguments. If you read into any philosophy or religion, I don't know why you would make claims like you can't prove or disprove God. Maybe you have, and you do have that view, but I would doubt you have an argument. But in any case, do you have an argument? Do you have an argument that God exists?
What about have you read David Bentley Hart's the Beauty of the Infinite?
Okay, I'm just asking you. Do you have an argument God exists right now?
Yes, I'm getting there. You need to change your attitude if you want to have this discussion, right?
But you haven't given an answer.
Right. Just you need to get there, right?
So is the answer
have you
yes?
read that book? Is that a yes or no?
No, we're not going to answer your questions whilst I had asked first.
Then let me explain it to you.
Let's go.
If
No,
read that
I will.
book,
I will drop you if you're not going to be linear.
I am.
I asked. Okay, so you recognize I asked you a question first, correct?
Yes.
And you recognize you didn't offer an answer.
I'm offering an answer.
No, you didn't.
Answer.
You asked me a question.
Okay,
sorry,
all right, let's drop it. Let's drop
sorry,
it and move on.
sorry.
Let's just move on.
Sorry. I do not want to mute you. So stop.
Let's just
where
move
we
on.
were to recapitulate the conversation.
I don't need to
asked
talk
you,
about
do
the
you?
conversation. I'm here
Sorry.
to talk about the topic.
Okay. This is your final warning. I will recapitulate the conversation and explain how you didn't answer.
I don't
You
need
made
to
the
do
claim
that.
you did. Okay, then you can leave.
Dude.
Okay, you can leave. You can leave.
You're not going to go very far.
Okay, you can leave. Right? If you're not going to be linear and honest, you can leave. I'm not interested in weasels talking with me. To be clear, to explain to anyone who thought he answered, what I asked is, do you have an argument in light of the existence of God? He responded, did you read a Bentley's Beauty book or something like that? Which was a question, right? And not a yes, I have an argument, no, I have an argument. So he did not offer an answer. So when I made it clear we want an answer to that question first, he refused to answer and said, I'm asking you a question. And then he said, no, you say yes or no, which was obviously just avoiding what I asked. So now it should be clear to anyone who thought he answered, he obviously didn't. By the way, I forgot to turn back the chat, but this guy's not connecting. I don't know why it's up. I need to bring someone else up.
Yo. Hello?
Hold on. Okay, now the chat's back on. Let's not go crazy. By the way, 15K likes. It's right there. We back. Yeah. Come on, 15K likes. There's 90 people here. Okay, which year do you want to talk about?
The third one.
Okay, do you appreciate the distinction between gender and sex?
I would say no. But
wait. Okay, so then when you don't appreciate the distinction, you understand that when trans people say they're transgender, all they're saying is their sex and their gender are divorced. So if you're not appreciating that distinction, that just means when you say transgender people are not women, you're just not even responding to what they're saying. You're saying something entirely different. It's like saying you can use the word bank to refer to a welfare building, or you can use the word bank to refer to a body or stream of water. And I say that bank is pretty big, and I'm referring to the bank. And then you say, no, the bank is actually very, very small, and you're referring to a little stream of water. That's called equivocation. Now, that just shows whenever you tell trans women they're not women, you're actually not even engaging with the claim they're making. Do you understand what they mean by gender, or no?
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
Does gender use sex to explain itself?
No, gender does not use sex. Well, there's some relevant connection between sex, yes, that gender is parasitic on to have that concept. Yes, gender does use sex.
So in what way am I equivocating?
Because by gender, you mean sex. When people say they're transgender, you think they're saying they're somehow trans sex. That's not what they're saying. When a trans woman person says they're transgender, they're not saying they're the opposite sex that they in fact are. That's not what's being said. They're not saying their sex, that they have, it's not that they have a fact like they have XX chromosomes and they're asserting they have XY chromosomes. What they're asserting is they have some sex and their gender is divorced from their natural sex.
And what does that entail?
When you ask, what does that entail? I don't know what that even means. There's not any entailment.
Okay, if my
what do you mean? What does that entail? Look, let's just get clear.
Oh my goodness.
Do you know what gender mean? Look, let's just sidestep that because I don't think this is going anywhere. I want to know, do you understand what is meant by gender?
In the context that you're using it, no.
Okay, the context I'm using it is actually the way the general population of people exhaustively on the planet use it, as well as psychologists and gender study experts, in addition with sociologists and gender anthropologists. So all that's meant by gender, and this should be obvious that what people mean by gender is not sex. Take like a child who uses gender language. They don't have the biological devices of chromosomes or gametes, so they're not referring to sex, right? In fact, most children don't even know the genitalia of the other sex, right? So obviously when children use it, unless you want to say children are saying something meaningless, obviously what they mean by the gender language they use is not sex language. Okay, so let me just explain what gender is. Gender is a type of social archetype. What that means is there's a set of characteristics that are historically inductively associated with some specific sex, culturally relative, right? And the set of characteristics it would include is vocal inflection, aesthetics, certain visuals about their autonomy or anatomy. It would include their social role. It would include their psychology and dispositions, the way they behave. It would include the certain activities they partake in and the types of communities they're in, right? Here's some basic examples. I might call my friend gay when he does ballet because ballet is a feminine activity. So what it means to be one gender, like if I say I'm a woman, what it means to be a woman is the general set of characteristics had of a person is generally feminine. That's all that means. So here's a basic example. If we had a person who had XY chromosomes, meaning they're a male, and they had breasts, a vagina, they did everything women did. They knit, they ice skate, they gossip, they go to the mall, they paint their nails, they sleep with men, etc., right? From that fact, we would say that person is a woman because what we mean by woman in this context is that they, considering the totality of characteristics had of the agent, the general set of characteristics are feminine. Now, in that scenario, I just described a trans person, a person who generally has feminine characteristics and is male sex. Do we understand that?
I mean, you're trivializing what you're making trivial of what a woman is, but okay.
Yes, it is trivial. That's why this statement here is trans women are obviously women. This is the way it's used by folk people, gender experts, sociologists, psychologists, and of course, trans advocates, and generally too by anthropologists. This is just the way it's generally used. In fact, this is the way it's used by most people on the planet. Most people on the planet surveyed do not have concepts of chromosomes. In fact, I don't even know my own chromosomes. I've never been explicitly told by any medical professional, or I've never seen any records by my hospital, nor have I actually dissected my own body and observed the string of chromosome sequences, right? So I'm actually myself not in any position to say I'm male, but I would suspect I'm male given my genitalia, but I consider myself a man. And if I found out that even if I had a penis, which I do, in the general body of a man, if I found out I had XX chromosomes, I would still say I'm a man. Right? And that's for obvious reasons I described, because man here is referring to gender, and gender refers to the social archetype, which is trivially true, as you said, right? And if you agree it's trivially true, then we don't disagree about the topic. Unless you're going to equivocate, then.
Equivocate what? So, okay, for
equivocate on what it means for someone to be a woman or man. If you're going to just define those in a way that's not used in the traditional gender language way, then all you're doing is you're making an uninteresting argument, just changing the words to mean something
you haven't heard my argument. You haven't heard my argument though.
I never made claims about. I never even said you had an argument. I don't know what that's responding to. I said do not equivocate, and then you said equivocate what, and I explained what an equivocation is and what it would be to equivocate in this context. I never said you even had an argument. You obviously didn't present an argument yet.
Okay, so I'm going to present my argument because we've talked a lot, and I don't want to take too much of your time.
I thought you agreed my position was trivial.
I'm going to present my argument. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Wait. Please
go ahead.
Get clear. Do you think my position is trivial or no? Are you walking that back?
I don't think you believe in your position.
I don't care if you think that. That's not what's being asked. And yes, I believe in my. Okay, you don't think I'm lying about believing the position I described? I don't give a shit about that. What I'm asking is, do you agree the position I described is trivial or not? Like, what the hell? It's like someone who said, comes and gives an argument for God, and me as the host responds to the guest, well, I don't care because I don't think you actually are a theist. I think you're just LARPing. I don't think you actually believe in God. How's that responding? Jesus fuck, I don't even know how people say the stuff they say. Look, just to be clear, the question is, do you still hold that my position is trivial or not?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, it's not trivial. So what about my position do you disagree with?
No, it's not trivial.
Okay, my position is what it means to say trans women are women. If you don't disagree with my position, then we don't disagree about the topic trans women are women.
We do disagree.
Okay, so what is the proposition we disagree with?
The trans women are women part.
Okay, but you just said, okay, now you're contradicting yourself. You're saying, I disagree with the proposition trans women are women. And, wait, okay, I understand. Well, that's not true, obviously. I understand you're not speaking literally, but look, there's a reason why. Right now, you're now producing a contradiction, which is the contradiction being that you disagree with the proposition trans women are women, and the position trans women are women as described is trivial. Now, it can't be trivial because what it means to say is trivial is that no, you said it was trivial, and I even clarified if you take it to be trivial, and you said yes. Now, if you're saying that's mischaracterizing you, let's be clear. Do you think my position is trivial?
I think that it's wrong.
Okay, so what about what I said is wrong?
Are you ready? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't ask you not being ready.
When you're saying I'm equivocating, you're actually doing.
I didn't make the claim you're equivocating.
What? Sir, listen.
I said when you use gender language just to refer to sex language, that's equivocation. That was from the onset. If you're referring to when I said do not equivocate, I already explained to you how I didn't say your argument had equivocation and that you didn't even put forward an argument. Now, yes, if by gender you just mean sex, then yes, you are equivocating. That's not how gender language is used.
That is not what I am doing.
Okay, now that's clear. So then that means I never claimed you were equivocating.
Okay. So you believe trans women are women, right? Are you attracted to women?
I'm not sure if I'm generally attracted to women. I guess I'm generally attracted to a subset of females.
Okay, so you're not attracted to women.
I would say I'm attracted to women, but I'm not clear about the general population. So that would require some empirical understanding about the general population.
When you have an attraction to somebody, is it usually a woman?
Yeah, I already responded saying I don't know the general population of women to say this because I said what I'm attracted to is a proper subset of females. So I'm not clear the population of women and whether the majority population of women are females, because then I would say that I'm generally attracted to women too. So I'm agnostic on whether I'm generally attracted to women.
Are you attracted to trans women?
Generally not. Maybe there's some like outliers. I wouldn't be surprised. At least there's not any that I'm sure that I actually know, but it might be the case I'm attracted to some trans women. Yeah. If you're asking about if there's any trans women I have in my background that I'm currently attracted to, the answer is no.
Okay, so you can concede to you are attracted to women, but not to trans women.
Wait, trans women are women. If you heard what I said I'm agnostic whether I'm generally attracted to women. What I said was I'm generally attracted to the subset of females, and I do not know the sample space of women that are female. So I am agnostic. So I said I don't know if I'm generally attracted to women. But then you just asked me if I'm attracted to trans women, and I said if what you're asking there is if there's any trans women I have in my background that I'm sexually attracted to, the answer is no. If it's possible there exists some trans women I'd be attracted to, the answer is yes.
So saying that you're agnostic is not answering the question. You understand what I'm saying?
No, agnosticism means you're indifferent. You have an indifferent attitude towards the question. That is an answer.
Okay. So you understand the difference between a woman and a trans woman? Like someone who identifies as a woman is not the same thing as
There's no difference. There is no difference between a trans woman and a woman.
Okay, well then you should be able to answer the question and not be agnostic on it.
I did answer the question. The answer to the question is that I'm agnostic.
You're being intellectually dishonest.
In what way?
Agnosticism is not an answer.
It is an answer.
Oh, because you say it's an answer?
An answer to the question is presenting the attitude towards the question. Now, there's two attitudes and an indifferent attitude. It's either I have a positive attitude, negative attitude, or indifferent attitude. It's like if I ask you, do you own a dog after I got hit with a baseball bat and I have a very fuzzy memory of my past life? It doesn't. I don't have to say yes or no. I can say
Oh,
I don't know whether I have a dog.
no, that's
It's
not. Now
it
you're
would- it would
equivocating
be
something
it
that
would
doesn't make
it
any
would.
sense.
I'm not equivocating. What?
You are.
Would
You're
be dishonest. It would.
equivocating a nonsensical
Sorry. Let's.
question to.
Okay, you're
a
using the
straight
word
answer question.
equivocation. You're using the word equivocation in a way that I have no clue what it means in this context.
When you're-
Equivocation is when
okay,
you change
what?
when you change the definition of words. You use a different sense of the word that's
What you're
used
saying,
from the
you
onset in the context.
answer the question.
I did answer the question, and I already explained how I did. I said I have an indifferent attitude towards the question.
Okay, what's wrong with the way that I asked the question?
I didn't say there was anything wrong with it.
Okay, so can you justify your agnosticism to a straight answer question?
I don't even know what that means. I have literally no clue what that means.
Well, I mean, it's words that it's words that you can put together.
Yeah, but I can put the words together: upright fish, left ballerina, cat, and you're not going to say that sentence
But
is
that's not a
intelligible.
straight answer question, right? That's not a question
Yeah,
that requires a yes or a no.
Yeah, but the string of words that you communicated, I don't understand what that means. I have no clue what's being conveyed.
Do
You said justify my agnosticism to be a yes or no question. That is just incoherent.
Okay, how about this? I'll ask this question. You're usually attracted to biological females, right?
Yes.
And those females usually that you're attracted to define themselves as women.
Again, I already told you I'm agnostic on that proposition.
So yes or no? You don't know if the women that you
I don't know. I don't know. I have
So you don't
literally
know
no
if you
clue.
date trans women or biological females. You have no idea.
No, that was not the question you asked.
That's literally the question I asked.
You asked if the general population of women are females. Is that not what you asked?
No, not even a little bit.
Okay, then I don't know what your question is.
Are the women that you are the females that you are attracted to usually do they identify themselves as women?
Okay, the females I'm attracted to, yes, the females I'm attracted to are typically women. In fact, yes, the answer is yes.
Okay, so you understand the difference between a trans woman and a woman.
Yeah.
Right, okay, thank you, bro. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was being honest. Thank you.
Okay. But you understand trans women are still women, correct?
Trans women are trans women, yeah.
Trans women are women simpliciter.
Well, that's not what you just conceded to.
I never conceded that trans women are not women.
You said you understand the difference.
You asked me.
Okay.
You asked me, is there a distinction between trans women and women? That doesn't mean trans women aren't women.
They're biological males, though, right?
Wait. Well, not all of them. Look, to explain what you did and how you're confused about what you're saying, when I say there's a distinction between trans women and women, and then you ask, okay, so then trans women are not women, that doesn't follow. And here, let me explain why. It's like if I said, all red apples are apples, right? Red apples are apples. And you said, okay, are red apples and apples different? And the answer is yes, because one is a proper subset of the general set, right? Where red apples are a type of constrained apple. It's specifically apples that satisfy the predicate of being red. So yes, I know the distinction between apples simpliciter and red apples, but that doesn't mean red apples are not apples. And that's what you did. I understand
that you're using
trans women. No, that is. And I'll explain how it's analogous. The way it's analogous is because trans women are women, but they have the additional constraint of them being women being divorced with their sex. So there is a proper subset of women whose gender is divorced from their sex. But for all women that are women, that's a tautology. All women are women. Some women's gender are divorced from their sex. Do I understand the distinction between women and women whose gender and sex are divorced? Yes, I understand the distinction between women simpliciter and women whose sex is divorced. That doesn't mean the women who have their sex divorced are not also women. It's just stipulated they're women. So all women that have their sex divorced are still women. So all women with their sex divorced are women. That's obvious.
Okay, so let's use the apple analogy one more time. If we have a red apple and then you peel the red part off, but it's actually a green apple. Like if I dressed an apple up as a red apple, but it's actually a green apple, is it still a red apple or is it a green apple?
Well, now it might have some ambiguity. Sorry, ambiguity. What you mean by red apple? If all you mean is
it's
an apple that on its surface, yeah, that's what I said. If all you're saying is that it's an apple whose surface is red, then the answer is yes. Now, after peeling it, does its surface remain red? Well, then it would become green.
That's not the analogy. If I dress up a green
Your
apple,
analogy was
hold on one second.
a red apple that when peeled was green, right?
No, I'm trying to clarify because I don't think you're listening. If I dress up a red apple as a green apple.
I even tracked what you said.
Okay, if I dress up a green apple as a red apple, is it a green apple or is it a red apple with green on it?
So you're saying that you cover a green apple with red coating, is it now a red apple?
Yes. If it's a green apple and I coat it in red, is it now a red apple?
Okay, and by red apple, to be clear, are we saying an apple whose surface is red?
No. Obviously, this is a green
Okay,
apple.
so what do you mean by red apple? Wait, I'm asking you what you mean by red apple.
Obviously you can look at an apple and tell the color, right? I have a green apple in my hand right now, right? If I colored it with a marker. Good.
I understand. Okay, I understand that. I'm asking you what you mean by red apple.
What am I supposed to mean by red apple?
What I mean by red apple is an apple whose surface has the color complexion of being red. I asked you if that's the definition you're working with. You said no, so I'm unclear what definition of red apple you're working with. So I don't know what's strange about me
There
asking
should be no
about a definition you said.
You should need a clarification on what a red apple is, right?
We
But
do,
if I
because
fooled
I
you-
offered
but if I
I
fooled
offered
you-
my definition. I offered my definition, and you said that's not the one you're working with. So I don't know what you mean by red apple.
Okay. Is the appearance of the apple the same thing as the actual apple? Obviously, green apples and red apples have different characteristics, right?
Yeah.
Like on a molecular level, right?
Yeah, but I'm not sure about that.
I don't know why.
But possibly, yeah, we can say that maybe their skin, the skin of the apple is such that it explains the
We don't have to
qualia
go-
of redness that
We don't have to
this,
go apples,
had of the apple.
because apples is kind of a bad analogy, right? Let's do people like we're talking about. If I am a black man and I dip myself white, am I now a white man?
And by white man, are you just saying a person whose phenotypical skin complexion is white?
Okay. Let's try this one more time. If I
I'm clarifying the question.
No, that's not what I mean. Are you a white man?
Okay. And by white man, do you just mean someone whose phenotypical complexion of skin is white?
Right.
Okay, then yes, by that definition, I would then be a white man. Because my skin complexion is white, and I'm a black person, or Puerto Rican, whatever.
So you consider yourself a white man, or do you consider yourself biracial?
Well, by the definition you provided of white men, which is someone whose phenotypical trait of
You
skin
provided that definition.
presents the complexion. Yeah, that's an interpretation I offered as a range of interpretations you can mean. I asked you if that's the correct one, and you said we can go with that. So that just means that's the definition you're working with. Now, if by that definition, if what you mean is just someone whose phenotypical skin presents the complexion of being white, then yes, by that definition, I'm a white man.
Okay, well let's use a different definition. Let's say that race has ancestry, right? Let's say race makes like has a I don't know how to, bro. I don't know why we're even. You know what a white man is and a black man is, right? If you look at my page, you would obviously say I'm a black man, right?
In the sense of race.
In the sense of race, right?
Okay, in the sense of race, it might reduce to certain phenotypical traits, and that integrated with historical context or anthropological context.
Okay, now let's say a phenotypical white male dip themselves black. Are we going to consider them a black man?
So you mean a Caucasian dipping themselves black? No, we wouldn't consider them a black man.
Okay, right. So why does your definition of a woman have to deal with what was the word you used? Aesthetic. Because if someone that is a Caucasian dipped themselves as black, right? They would have the aesthetic of being black, right? But they're not.
So the reason I put aesthetic is because what gender means, if you tracked, that it just implies you didn't, is that what it means to be some given gender. Oh, then what do I mean by female gender, for example?
By what you said is someone that has the typical social archetype of a female.
Okay, and what does that mean? Remember, I gave that definition.
What definition? What are you talking about?
The definition for female social archetype.
You use the word aesthetic.
That's one component. That's not the definition. Do you remember the definition?
Okay, can you repeat the definition? I must be confused.
The definition of female social archetype is the set of characteristics generally associated with the female sex, culturally and socially relative. So in my society, female sex are typically those people who do ballet, certain activities, they have certain appearances like having ponytails, right? That's generally associated with the female sex. Those generalities that are associated characteristically of the female sex is what we mean by gender. So if someone in the scenario like I described, that earlier you said it was trivial, when someone has all the characteristics of that are feminine, right? Where what it means to be a female gender is that the general set of characteristics are feminine. If someone had breasts, a vagina, and did everything a female woman does,
Wait a second.
Then while they have XY chromosomes, they would be.
They don't have all of the characteristics of being a female, though. They don't. They have very defining.
You're not tracking. It was a hypothetical scenario that stipulated that the agent I'm talking about is one that does have all the feminine characteristics.
But that hypothetical is not. It's not grounded in any reality. right?
I never made the claim it
a
was.
trans
Now,
man, a
if
trans
you,
woman
and that's
doesn't have-
missing.
oh, come on, man.
That's missing the point. That's missing the point. The point wasn't to say this is grounded in reality. This is to show a clear example of a trans woman that's a woman.
Okay, so if they have,
Okay,
if they
before we
have on a
move past, we
dress,
got to get clear.
if we have,
Wait,
if
let's
he
get
has on a
clear.
pre-dress and a
Okay, let's
ponytail-
hold on. Okay, let's hold on. Are we clear how in this hypothetical I provided, the transgender woman is a woman?
Say that one more time, sir.
Okay. So to be clear, in the hypothetical I provided you, are we clear how that transgender woman is a woman?
No.
You're not clear.
No, because one of the things that you said was
so
hold on 1 second. I'm trying to explain to you why we're not clear. You said they have all of the characteristics of being a female, which we know that is not grounded in any reality.
I never made that claim, and again, you're repeating something that I just explained is missing the mark. My point, I never made that claim, so I don't know what you're critiquing if it's not a claim I've made. It's like saying, hey, but you never gave the argument. You never gave the argument unicorns exist. Did you say that? If I said, yeah, but you never gave the argument unicorns exist, so why would I care about this? Obviously, I never made the claim it was grounded in reality, and I told you the point. I told you the point is not for it to be grounded in reality. So let's get clear what the point of the hypothetical is. The point of the hypothetical is to show a very clear and cut case where a transgender woman qualifies as being a woman. Is that clear? Nothing about it being grounded in reality. Is it clear in that hypothetical how that trans woman's a woman?
No. Because
okay, so let's be clear.
How could someone that is not the same sex as a woman have the same?
I already.
Hold on, bro. You're not even listening to my question.
No, I did hear, and I know what you're gonna ask. Okay, just continue.
You don't know what I'm gonna ask.
I don't think it. Oh, really? Okay.
No.
Okay. How about this? How about we gamble?
How about ask the question and then stillman it? There we go.
How about? Okay. All you're saying is that because they're not of the same sex, or sorry, because they're not of the sex of being a woman, that just means they can't be a woman in gender.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I was going to ask. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to
see
ask
if you're
a
gonna
question.
lie.
Hold on.
Mm-hmm, go ahead. Yeah, ask it.
So can you pose your question again so that you could be clear on your question that you still man, and then I can ask the actual question.
You said you don't see how it's clearly a case where a transgender woman is a woman.
Okay, so now you're not tracking. This is my question that I was going to ask.
I am tracking. This is a clear-cut, dry case of when a trans woman's a woman, and then you said it's not clear. Then I asked, how is it not clear? And then you brought up the fact about sex. And then that's when we did the guessing game about what your question was going to be, because I interjected early. Now you can finish your question that was explaining what's unclear about how the scenario I described has a clearly trans woman.
Okay. You stated that if they have all of the characteristics of a female, then obviously they're a woman, right? That's what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. By saying trans woman, we denote that they don't have all of the characteristics of being a female. That is the reason that you are using gender.
Okay, so you aren't tracking. Let's go step by step. The reason why in the trans scenario, the person is clearly as a woman, because what it means to be a woman is that the general set of characteristics are feminine. Now, in a scenario where all the characteristics are feminine, the person whose sex is male and they have the gender of being a woman, that means they're trans women because their sex and gender are divorced. And we see how they clearly qualify as a woman because they have all feminine traits.
Okay, so
now are we clear on how that's a clear case of a transgender woman being a woman?
No, because what is a general woman? What are the general characteristics of a woman? That's debatable. That is based on society, right?
Mm-hmm.
And society is not going to have a clear-cut example of this, obviously, because there are...
What do you mean?
Okay, by your definition, if they have boobs, a ponytail, and a vagina, that is a woman. But those are general characteristics of a woman. That's what you're saying.
That's not all.
Okay,
that
so
was
can you give me
those were
characteristics of women?
Those were. I don't know how many times I have to repeat it. Here are the set of traits that contribute to what makes a woman a woman: vocal inflection, aesthetics, the visual anatomy, social role, their dispositions and psychology, the certain activities and communities they take part in. That's the broad set. There might be more, but that's at least the relevantly broad sense of or set of characteristics that contribute to being a woman. Okay. Now, there's obvious ones that we can clearly denote. Here, let's talk about aesthetics. Now, is a male sex or female sex more inclined to wearing a dress? Now, we should both see it's obvious, at least we're in my society. I don't know, maybe you live in some geography in the world where... Yeah, I'm talking about right fucking now.
Okay, right now, no.
Why would I be talking in a different time?
Hold on 1 second. What? Usually men don't wear dresses.
That was the most stupidest
I
part.
could put on a
so then, wait. So now we agree. That's one thing. So one of the feminine characteristics, because it's
that is ambiguous.
What do you mean we don't have to agree on that? You just agree.
I have friends that are gay that wear dresses and they are men.
But you still, okay, that's not understanding. Do we agree that it's more likely that a female wears a dress than a man?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, that just means it's more associated inductively. Statistically, a female is more likely to wear a dress. That's why we say wearing a dress is now feminine. Now, that's one trait. That's a certain trait about maybe you want to say the designer or retail or some relevant sense of aesthetic apparel of a woman, right? The feminine characteristics of dressing. Yes, that's a characteristic. It's a characteristic.
A dress is apparel.
Yeah, the apparel that you're disposed to wearing is a trait. Females are disposed to wearing dresses. That's an empirical fact. That's an empirical.
You can say that the choice is a
Sorry, I'm still speaking. The feminine. We just agreed okay. I don't know why you keep over talking. We just agreed that empirically females are more likely to wear dresses. Now, are we clear on that?
Yes, they're more likely to make the choice to wear a dress, but the choice is not a characteristic.
Okay, they're more inclined to wear dresses than men. Now that's clear, or males. Now that's clear, it just makes it a feminine characteristics, given it's a trait that is inductively more likely to be had of the feminine sex, right?
No,
now that just makes it a feminine characteristic.
Trans people will disagree.
No?
Point.
Wait, when you say no, can you make it clear what you're disagreeing with?
I think trans people would even disagree with your point.
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you, when you said the word no, what are you saying no to? What proposition are you denying?
A dress is not a characteristic of a woman. That is a choice that people make.
That is a characteristic.
The choice might be a characteristic, right?
Sorry, you're not understanding what the characteristic is. If the confusion is what is the characteristic is what the agent is more inclined to wearing. That's the trait. The fact about inclination of wearing dresses is a characteristic trait. The females are more inclined to wearing dresses. That just makes it a feminine trait, and now makes it a trait that, if had of a sex, makes it more inclined to being, or raises the probability they're a woman.
I think you would have to make a different argument, like maybe.
I don't care what you think. Do we now understand how the inclination to wear a dress is a characteristic trait? That should be very obvious.
Bro, this is apparel. That is social.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. It's not like.
Okay, so are we clear that female sex are more inclined to wearing dresses? So now that trait of being inclined to wearing dresses is a feminine trait. Okay, now that trait contributes to being a woman.
No, I do not agree.
No, what? Okay, what are you disagreeing with?
I've said it like 3 times.
Lay out the proposition clearly.
Apparel is not a characteristic. The choice to
okay, you're not tracking. Hold on, you're not tracking. You're not. I'm not saying.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm saying what you're inclined to wearing is a trait. You said no to that. That's what you said no to, right? Or am I wrong?
It's not.
Okay, so what I'm more inclined to doing isn't a trait. It is a trait. That might even reduce to being a psychological trait.
Okay, I'll concede to that. That's fair.
Yeah, you dumb fuck. Obviously, it's a trait. You're a moron.
Sure.
Now that we're clear, sir, don't do this.
You're a bitch.
Okay, sure. Okay, great. I'm a bitch somehow. I'm somehow a bitch. Whilst you're confused this entire time, that this very, very, very obvious moot point that the female sex is more inclined to wearing a dress. That whole time you're disputing that, and then you just realize that's something trivial.
Can you dispute you being a bitch ass nigga?
Now. Okay, well, we're not going to allow the N-word on here. In fact, we're not allowing any slurs, but you've been up here long enough and you've embarrassed yourself long enough. So we can move to the next person. That guy got cooked so bad. Hey, which year you want to talk about?
Trans women.
How old are you?
37, bro.
Okay, I'm not. You're obviously a liar. 37. That guy's 37, guys. Which year you want to talk about?
We can speak about trans women. I'm 22 years old and everything else.
Are you trans yourself or no?
No, absolutely not. But I can definitely explain this to you. So I am going to put trans women under the category of men, not a category of women. Now, based on what the other young man was saying,
we gotta go step by step. Are we clear the distinction between sex and gender?
Absolutely. Just because someone has feminine traits that are a man and everything else, that can go for the same thing of a woman having masculine traits and everything else. Now, the way how I'm going to explain it to you is that, okay, we can change our bodies and everything else. Yes, we can take the opposite hormone to appear more feminine or more masculine. But at the end of the day, we cannot change our biologically our sex chromosome.
We're not talking
and
about
everything
changing
else.
our sex.
Now we can.
Yeah, but that's just confusing what we're talking about. We're not talking about changing your sex.
No. Well, if you're saying trans woman, I'm thinking that, okay, trans woman, the surgery, the boobs, the hormones, the sex change, it's all of it. If you say trans woman, because don't trans women get those surgeries?
That's not changing your sex.
So you are not. So wait. So you okay?
Hold on.
That's
I'm not
what
convinced.
Saying. You cannot change your sex.
First, and I don't think transgender people believe that either. I think transgender people agree. They agree.
No, absolutely not. Trans women are trans women. Trans women are trans women, and they are
Woman-
under a category of men,
woman-
not a category of women.
Women and men refer to gender. Now you're equivocating on sex and gender. I thought you said you
How
understand
am
the
I
distinction.
equivocating on?
Okay,
How,
what do you? Okay,
How,
wait.
how
Because
can,
you said trans women means they're changing from man to woman. Man from woman is
no,
gender,
no, no, no,
not
no,
sex.
no, no, no. I
So
did
when you
not
talk
say
about
that.
biology,
I did not
you
say that.
did say that.
That is
You
not
did say
that is
that.
not what I said.
Okay,
That is
let's
not
just
what
go
I
step by
no
step.
no I did not.
Do we?
That is
Okay,
not
let's
that's
just
not
go.
what I said.
Okay, that's
So
not what you
let's
said.
start.
Okay, great.
Let's
Let's
go.
go step
Let's
by
go ahead and
step.
start
Okay,
over.
okay. Let's go step by step. Let's get clear. What do you think
Okay.
gender refers to? What do you think gender refers to? I think you got muted by one of my mods.
What
do you
do I think gender refers to? It's
You
it's
might be
definitely not
confused.
our identities and everything else.
I'm
How
not
am I
asking you what it's
confused
not.
if you're
Just
debating that trans
sorry.
women
Just
are
give me.
obviously women? How
We don't need the
how
rhetoric. We don't need the antagonizing rhetoric about my beliefs.
answer my
I'm asking you.
answer my
I'm just
question?
asking you.
How is trans?
Wait, no, we're not going to do meta. We're not going to do meta. Look,
No,
we're
no,
going to
no,
say
no,
linear.
no. Answer my question. You're making
No. We need to get clear. What do you
you're making
think?
the claim, so back it up.
Stop. Let's go step by step. What do you think I mean by gender?
The first thing that comes to me, what do I think you mean? I think that you mean by our identities. We identify what we identify and
No,
everything
what
else,
I mean,
regardless
no,
if
I
we're
do not.
masculine or
No.
feminine.
Okay, stop. When I
That
say no, wait, when I say no, that just means that's a mischaracterization. So you don't need to keep speaking mischaracterizing because you already got enough wrong. No, what I don't mean by
how am
gender
I
is the way you.
mischaracterizing if you're making the claim?
I'm trying to explain
No,
how
no,
you're
no, no. You
mischaracterizing.
mean
I
by
don't know
our
why you're over talking.
identities is what I said.
Shh. Yeah, pipe down. You're being very belligerent. This is your final shot. If I have to mute you again, you're getting dropped. You're a very, very uncordial person. Try and talk like a normal person and be charitable
Absolutely not.
and actually be
How can you
linear.
judge me over a
Okay,
how can you judge me over a
this
smartphone?
is your
How
last
can you judge
mute.
me over a smartphone?
This is your last mute. Okay, this is your last mute. Now the next time's just dropped. You just dropped after. Okay. Now, what do you think? Okay, to be clear, what I don't mean by gender is the way a person identifies themselves. A person can identify themselves as a dragon. I think those people might be confused or even possibly delusional. I do not mean anything about. She sounds ghetto. Okay, I don't know why I read that. It just kind of
Okay,
threw my
that's
Look, so what I
fine.
mean
So
by gender
can,
is
can I ask
what I
you a
mean by
question?
gender is not what I mean by gender is not the way a person identifies themselves. What I mean by gender
Okay.
is the set of
Can I ask you a
characteristics that are
question?
when. Sorry, no, you can't because I'm in the middle of speaking. You can wait and ask your question, right? So what I mean by
No, no,
gender,
no.
since you
Because
mischaracterized, so I'm going to
what
explain
is
to you.
what
I'm
is
trying to
gender
explain to you
dysphoria?
what gender is. So what gender is?
No, 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 no. What
When,
is gender
sorry,
dysphoria?
I warned you. That's your last opportunity to cut me off. Hopefully, this person doesn't want to talk about the same topic. Hey, which year do you want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about? I mean, personally, I want to go with trans women and are obviously women.
Okay, let's get clear. Do you appreciate the distinction between gender and sex?
No.
Okay, so what do you think I mean by gender?
Gender and sex are the same thing.
Yeah, used
Gender
by
and sex
you.
are the
Yeah, but
no.
that's the way you use it, not the way folk people use it, not the way sociologists use it, not the way gender anthropologists or gender study experts nor psychologists use gender to refer to the pair of chromosomes nor the size of gametes. This is non-standard way of using it. But I'm asking you, what do you think I mean by gender or a transgender woman means by gender? Because they're not saying that they're changing their sex. That's not what they're saying. They're using it in the traditional gender relevant language way, right? Not the gender idiolect you're using that just is synonyms with sex. That's not what they're saying. If you don't appreciate the distinction between sex and gender, then you don't even know, you're not even disagreeing with a transgender person because you're saying something that they might not even, some are delusional maybe, and they might think that they are some different sex, right? And that might be a delusion. But in any case, what transgender people generally are saying is not that they have they're changing their sex or they're born with a different sex than what they were. What they're saying is they have their gender and their sex is divorced. This is the standard way it's defined in gender philosophy. If you read,
what do you mean? What do you mean they're saying their gender is divorced?
Yes, if you look on Stanford Encyclopedia to gender philosophy, or if you read transgenderism in Wikipedia, the standard account of transgenderism is when you have a divorced gender from your sex. Now, since you don't know what gender means, I'll explain it since you're impoverished. What gender means is when the general set of characteristics had of an agent is one that are feminine. Now, let me explain the range of characteristics. Some are vocal inflection, social role, certain activities, communities they partake in, some other things like aesthetics or visual anatomy, like having breasts or even just having ponytails, stuff. These are just facts culturally relative that we associate with the female sex, right? Like the reason we would say something is feminine is because we obviously think it's some trait that generally females do, right? The reason I might call my friend who does ballet gay is because there's a fact that female sex are the people who typically partake in activities like ballet.
Yes,
right?
there are feminine. There are feminine activities. Wait. I got you. I'll wait for you.
Okay, the next time I say wait, I'm going to need to mute you because this has been the entire live that I've been saying wait. Okay,
that's fair.
So all I mean by gender is when this considering the exhaustive range of characteristics an agent has, their set of characteristics are generally feminine. Is that clear? That's what it means to be a trans woman. Okay. So here's a basic example where a trans woman is obviously a woman. Suppose this person has XY chromosomes. So they are biologically a male, right? Okay. But they have a vagina, breasts, and they do everything a female does. They only do feminine activities like they knit, they wear ponytails, dresses. They only have social circles with generally females. They have social roles like they're the cook in their house, etc. Right? They have they literally the entire range of characteristics are all feminine. Since it's more than generally, it's literally every set characteristic in the range of characteristics are feminine. They qualify now as being a woman whilst they have male sex. Now that's an example of transgender because their sex is male, but the general characteristics associated with male is not had of them. They have a conflicting general set of characteristics from their sex. Their general associated characteristics are feminine whilst they're a male. So that's a very obvious example of a trans person. Now, most trans women do generally have very feminine traits, right? They act feminine, they have feminine psychology, they mirror inflections of voices, so they sound like women, they dress like women, they hang out with females, they do feminine activities, they sleep with men, they, in some chances, to have certain surgeries or changes in hormones to make their anatomy visually more feminine, etc. Do we agree there?
Do we agree that they do those things? Yeah, they do those things.
Okay, so then that means you're agreeing that they generally have feminine characteristics.
They try.
Are we clear on that?
They try to. Just because you try to have those characteristics doesn't make you a woman. If I can't breed you, you're not a woman.
Wait, that's already wrong. Because by definition, what it means is to generally have feminine characteristics. That's all that means. So when the set of characteristics you have are generally feminine, you analytically satisfy being a woman. It's just true by definition. So now if some person who's male sex generally has feminine characteristics, then they qualify as being a woman.
Okay, so you just said that having those characteristics usually makes them comfortable and feel like a woman. So if they're comfortable with feeling like that,
I never said anything about being comfortable.
Pretty sure you.
I never mentioned that word.
Okay.
No idea.
So, okay. Why do they, all of them, any of them, why do they need us to believe that they're a woman then? If they believe it so much, right? And if they're a woman, obviously, then why do we need to believe it? Only mentally unhealthy people force.
Well, mentally unhealthy people. Is the claim transgender people are mentally unhealthy? What's the argument for that?
That is my claim. That is absolutely my claim.
Yeah. What's the argument?
No mentally healthy person would try to pretend to be something they're not.
It's not pretending. There's a fact about their characteristics being more feminine. Now, I'm trying to get clear. Okay, so if they chose to have traits that are generally feminine, then that means they chose to be a woman, and now they satisfy being a woman by their own volition, by their own choice. Now I'm not clear from the choice of being a woman whilst they're male. What's the mental unhealthiness?
Any man that is willing to chop off his penis is clearly mentally unhealthy.
It's not clear to me. What's the argument if a male is willing to neuter themselves, then they're mentally unhealthy? What's that argument?
If I stood in front of you and we're at a party and I'm just like,
don't ask me. No. We don't want a question nor a hypothetical. I want the argument supporting the claim.
The argument is the obvious. A person pretending
to be. Yeah, so it's not obvious to me. In fact, do you think mental health professionals would say that? Do you think, that's another claim you presumably also don't have an argument for. I want to get clear. What the claim is right now is that if someone is willing to neuter themselves, then they're mentally unhealthy. Now, Let's get clear. Is there an argument? Okay, absolutely. What's the argument supporting that?
I don't need one. It's common sense.
Okay, now the claim is that it's common sense. Now, all you're saying there is that it's some trivial fact. It's some fact that people generally know. Now, the claim it's a fact is what's in contention. Now, what's the argument that substantiates it's true that people who are male and willing to neuter themselves are mentally unhealthy, right? All you did was question beg. Now, let's get a clear argument, right? And also, if you didn't know this, appeal to common sense is a fallacy. When an interlocutor asks you for an argument to establish some conclusion and you say it's common sense, that's actually a type of fallacy, right? It's not an argument. Saying it's common sense is clearly not an argument. So let's just try again. What's the argument that if you want, you can search it up yourself. You can look at Stanford Encyclopedia, or you could just go and Google images, and there's literally fallacy recourses that have literally little snippets that have a sentence describing the fallacies. There's actually really popular ones. But in any case, what's the argument if I'm a male willing to neuter myself, I'm thus mentally unhealthy?
I don't really have an argument. For me, it's just common sense.
I know you don't. Obviously, you don't.
There's no need for an argument.
Okay, when you say it's
if I stand here and start slicing, hold on, let me finish real quick.
No. When you say it's common sense, you recognize all you're saying is that it's an obvious fact. Now, you haven't yet established its a fact. Okay, so if you don't have an argument that establishes it as a fact, then that should be obvious to you. You don't actually have reasons that motivate the view. It's a fact. So it's obvious to me and anyone else here who knows that when asked for epistemic reasons concerning claims, they are not presented an argument. They're in no position to make claims unless you're talking about like irrational claims. And yeah, you're in a clear position to do that. But yeah, Anne can chime in.
Well, I am actually curious why we don't just jump to like the obvious cases where it wouldn't be like a mental illness or like signifying of a mental illness. Like if someone was like, okay, chop your penis off or I'm going to kill your entire family. Well, if I chop my penis off in that instance, am I mentally ill? Or were there overriding factors that would make that not a mental illness? Obviously not. No psychiatrist in the history of ever would call that a mental illness.
No, I wouldn't.
Does this guy know he's muted?
Yeah, I knew. Sorry.
Wait. Okay. So wait. That just refutes what you said. You said it's entailed from the fact that a male is willing, or by their own choice decides to neuter themselves. That entails they have a mental illness. That was your claim.
To be a woman.
Now,
to be a woman. To pretend.
Oh,
to
you
be a
never said
woman.
that. No. Wait. To be clear, what you claimed verbatim was that if someone is willing to chop off their penis,
I know what I said. I didn't think I needed to add.
Then they have a mental illness.
I didn't think I needed to add the obvious to that statement because the statement she made is stupid.
Okay, we get it. Now, what's the argument if I do it in light of being a woman or more feminine that's then a mental illness?
It's just obvious, bro.
You're removing a piece of your body.
I swear, that's all people can do on these lives. Say it's obvious when they don't have anything.
Okay, if I slit my wrist in front of you, you'd think I was mentally unhealthy, right? So if I cut off my arm in front of you, I just didn't like that arm. Oh, that dude's got some fucking problems. He just cut off his arm.
Well, that's not analogous.
If you cut off your penis,
that's not analogous because they're not chopping it with a machete. They're doing a very rigor and safe medical procedure to get it removed.
It doesn't make a difference.
Do you think that women who get
you're botching your body?
Do you think like women who get like boob jobs are mentally ill?
I think they have a mental insecurity, and that's why they do it.
Okay, wait. An insecurity is different from a mental illness.
Yeah, because you're not botching your body; you're adding to it.
Wait, well, certainly a lot of them do end up with botched bodies, but
I mean, yes, that's fair. That's fair. Some do end up with botched bodies.
Stop yapping, please, for like 5 seconds. Look, they're altering their body in a significant way. So are trans women who, cut off their genitals through, this language is important actually, I think, because the way you're phrasing it, and Monkeyboy caught you on this, was that, you're saying, well, if I just chop off my penis, that's not the case for like what's going on. There's also something to be said about, mental illnesses are culturally contextual. One thing in one society, like that's considered a mental illness might not be in another.
Okay.
Like, you're just wrong on a lot of fronts here.
I mean, that you can state that. It doesn't make it a fact.
Well, actually, it is a fact. Like, if you look at the DSM-5,
that is a fact.
Okay, so
few months away from having a psych degree, by the way. So
that's great. But the same dumbasses the same dumbasses that you're learning from are the same dumbasses preaching the shit that's wrong. Just because you have a degree, does not make you right.
Do you know?
So I can get a psychology degree, and then
okay. So I'll just need you. Do you know who the people are that initially called trans people mentally ill? It was psychologists. And then they realized they were wrong.
Yeah,
no, they bought into the woke agenda.
Girl, what fucking woke agenda?
I just want to be clear. Do you remember what the claim was that you said Anne was wrong about? The claim was that mental illnesses or the criterion for a mental illness varies culturally.
Okay.
Okay. So you understand that you think that's false.
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Mental illness is not
okay.
based
Well,
on.
so
if it's
you think mental illness is exhaustive?
What do you mean?
You think no matter the context of culture that one is raised or furnished in, the criterion for a mental illness is static, or remains the same, present in all scenarios, no matter what context. The context doesn't matter. That's your claim, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's absurd.
Okay, and this claim is actually very rudimentarily untrue, right? The tenets of psychological disorders. If you want, and this is actually funny, I've read the Psychology for Dummies book. Maybe order yourself that book, and it does describe psychological illnesses as being culturally relative. But in any case, since you disagree with that, I just want to be clear. Do you have an argument that it's not culturally relative? Or is that another thing you happen to not have an argument for that you're just so confident in?
Yeah.
Probably the latter, right? Yeah. You're a bullshitter. We get it. Okay, so now that's another thing. You're a confident buffoon. Yeah, common sense being a non-argument, right? All you mean by common sense is being confident. All you mean by common sense is being confident in a belief that you can't justify. And that's all you mean. Okay, great. I can be confident unicorns exist, have no argument, and be extremely confident, right? And it's common sense.
Common sense would disagree because nobody's ever seen one.
Okay, this guy. Do you think it's worth talking with this guy anymore, or move to the next guest, Ann?
I'm curious why he thinks that common sense is worth more than like rigorous scientific research. Like
Because every few years
But
that
in,
rigorous.
Okay, so I'll just
in any case, in order for it to be common sense, it still has to be a fact.
Well, I think people use the word common sense differently, but you could take like, okay, the Sumerians thought, if they prayed to the sun god, then they would get like rain or something. And that was common sense to them back then. That was just like, well, yeah, you just do this and then you get this good outcome. Do you think that they were correct about that because it was common sense?
No, obviously not.
Yeah, no shit.
Maybe we should be more clear about what he might mean by common sense. By common sense, do you mean some background fact that is common among peoples? Or does it include non-facts?
What do you mean by non-facts?
Propositions that are not true. You don't know what a fact is? A proposition that's true is a fact.
Honestly,
I walked my dog today could be a fact. If it's true, I walked my dog.
I think wow,
So
I've never had
the
to
question
explain
is-
what common sense
the
is to
question-
someone
sorry,
before, or what I mean by
I'm
it.
asking you, is the notion of common sense you're employing one that requires there to be a fact present? Or that the thing that is the common sense being a fact?
I think the common sense is just the fact.
Oh, so it is required it's a fact, right?
Yeah.
So if someone said it's common sense unicorns exist, they'll be wrong because it's not a fact unicorns exist. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, it's not
Okay.
a provable. It has no provable fact.
Okay, so when you say it's a fact that things like these people obviously have mental illnesses, or that it's obvious that psychology doesn't have cultural relativity, those things you claimed are facts, you don't have an argument substantiating their facts, right?
No, I don't have an argument that you like.
Okay, so that means you're in no position to make claims about facts, because what it means for it to be a fact is a true proposition, and you have no argument that establishes the proposition to be true. Okay, great. So
Okay,
it's
sure.
not even by your own lights, it's not common sense. It doesn't qualify as
sure.
common sense.
Sure.
Okay, so now it's not even common sense. What more do we do now? It just seems you have a bunch of just views you can't defend.
I don't need to defend my views.
You don't need it. You can be irrational. Yeah, like you are.
No, I just know. It's not my problem or my fault that you don't want to agree with
Can you
it.
know
But
something?
to
Wait, can you
comment
know
on-
something that's not true? Like, look, let's say I said I know it's raining today, and it wasn't raining today. Can I know it if the proposition wasn't true?
Technically, you can know it's raining because it's raining somewhere.
Oh my
No,
God.
if I said it's rain, let's say I live in New York, right? Specifically Manhattan, and I said from 5 to 6 o'clock today it rained, and let's say it stood 102 degrees the entire day, no rain, no clouds. Can I say I know that whilst it's not true, the proposition?
No, I mean, yeah, you can if you're mentally unhealthy.
No, I'm saying,
But-
can I actually know it? Look, I'm not saying, when I say can I
you
say
can't
that,
know it.
I'm not saying can I merely express the expression. I'm saying, can it be a fact I know it whilst the fact it rained is untrue?
Oh, no.
No, right? Okay, so when you say you know it, it's had of your theory of knowledge, there's a prerequisite that the thing that's known is true, yet there's no argument that establishes it's true. So you're in no position to say you know it.
I guess my
Okay, great.
argument
So another
is-
thing we fleshed out, you're not in a position to say. Now you're not only in a position to say things are common sense, but you're also not in a position to say you know things. Okay, great. Anything more?
Oh, I mean, that's fair. I probably don't know as much as you and her when it comes to psychology and stuff. But
I'm not convinced you know more than a dog at this point.
well, that's fair. I am a dog, so arf. Am I a dog now?
Okay.
Because I say I'm a dog and I bark.
Jesus
No.
Christ.
And to
Did I? And you
comment?
realize you realize I also said that's untrue for a woman, or sorry, if
Yes, I
let's
do,
say a
I
male,
do.
if
I
a
was
male,
just
if a
poking
male
fun.
says,
I
yeah,
was just
that
poking fun.
just sounds
I
that
was
sounds
just
very
poking fun.
disingenuous and toxic, but that was great poking fun.
It's interesting when
You
they
thought-
try to use that as like a gotcha, like, oh, if I say I'm a dog, does that mean I'm a fucking dog now? And I'm like,
It's so-
look,
it's-
if we construct this whole cultural concept about, what it means to be a dog, and we have like this, this synthetic concept or whatever, that like, oh, if you wear blue on Sundays, that means you're a dog, then yes, under that semantic, you would be a fucking dog.
They have this view that, at least I think there are some people who use gender language in a way that allows for self-identification, or at least maybe not as robust as just blatantly saying I'm one gender, but there are types of. But I don't have that view that if I say I'm a woman, I think there's just like stance-independent empirical qualifications about types of dispositions and psychologies about some given person that qualifies them a woman or not. I think you could be delusional about being some given gender.
I'm not sure you could, but I don't know. We can talk about that later.
What's up, yo?
Which year do you want to talk about? I gotta get a charger so you can talk with him for the moment. And
What's good? Time to get linear.
All three.
All three. All right, pick one.
Let's start with the first one.
Prove God exists. Okay, you believe God exists? Oh, thank you for the coins. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the argument that God exists?
Well, my belief in him.
Okay, you understand when you're presenting an argument, the goal is to convince the other person, right?
So you convinced me that God doesn't exist then.
Well, I don't make the claim that he does. I don't have sufficient evidence that God exists, and it's actually like less likely from the things that I see, that God exists.
So that's are you a God denialist or are you not enough evidence?
I think I probably take both, but I think those aren't incompatible. Those
Yeah,
are
they
perfectly
are.
compatible.
So it's either your belief in God is non-existent, or you just claim there's not enough evidence for proof.
Well,
Yeah, well,
she's
there's
just
not
saying
enough
there.
evidence for proof, so I don't exist. Or I don't, sorry, holy shit, I don't believe he exists.
So you don't believe it exists because of the lack of proof?
Of course, yeah, why don't you believe, like, purple unicorns exist?
Because there's not a whole text dedicated.
I think he's confused about not believing and disbelieving. Like, don't believing and disbelieving. Like, I don't believe there's unicorns that, I don't know, make Oreo factories.
But there's not a whole text dedicated to
But look, the point of the
interested in that,
proof,
though. Yeah.
the prove God thing is just for you to present arguments in light of the claim a God exists. If you have an argument or a chain of reasons that leads to the conclusion there's a God, you could give those reasons or arguments.
So the universe goes by two laws, right?
Wait,
By the laws.
what? I didn't even hear what you said.
So the universe goes by two laws, right? It's self-sufficient and it's a perpetual motion. So in that case, any cycle that
Self-sufficient? What do you mean the universe is self-sufficient?
that if we never exist, nobody has to touch it. It will just continue.
Well, that's not necessarily true. There's plenty of people who think that our planet's going to, like, die off eventually.
Yeah, but that's if we didn't exist, the planet
Are you talking about the existence of the universe is it's not
self-sufficient.
like
It's self-sufficient. If humans did not exist,
Okay.
the universe would still.
yeah, you're just saying that there's no thing external to the universe that explains the persistence of the universe existing.
No, I said what I said. Don't
Oh my god.
let's not use semantics here, right?
Yeah, don't paraphrase for him.
That's not even what semantics. Oh my god.
Stop trying to
You
understand what
mean
he's saying.
don't use a different interpretation to clarify? Is that what you're saying? Don't use.
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to.
What? Look, all I'm
politicians,
saying is you're saying.
a lot of politicians and all they use is big words to confuse about that.
Okay, I can explain what those words mean if it's unclear. By persistence, I mean.
But you're doing the same thing as politics. They use a lot of big words and they say simple phrases. They do that.
Look,
use the massive
okay,
symbol,
all
not-
I'm
not
asking you,
slowly.
okay, we don't need to do the meta about politics. I don't care. I just want to know is all you're saying is that
It's called
the
double
universe. Okay, all I'm asking you is, are you saying the universe continues to exist and there's nothing external to the universe that explains that fact?
After our existence, the universe will still continue to be.
Okay, great. This guy is not going to be reasoned with. That's the next person.
You're just using big words.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, hold on. Let me.
You got 200 points. Damn.
Yeah, I don't know what
100
happened.
points?
I know, right? I'm like rich, right?
No, not even.
Yeah,
bro.
that's
I mean,
crazy.
like, who just sits there and buys coins?
I don't
But
know.
anyways, which year you want to talk about?
Yeah,
I
would talk
love
about
buying
this one.
coins. You know, especially right before
Me
TikTok
too.
is banned.
I love this society. I love buying coins. But
Are you going to save TikTok for us?
actually, no, I'm gonna save society. But anyways, not even joking.
Dope.
Humans are doomed. But yeah, let's talk about, like, I guess I have a theory. I have a scientific theory, and it's a little bit abstract. But
Wait, before we get
I
to your
say
theory,
God
I want to know which
exists
topic here.
because he
Okay,
has
you want to talk about
exist.
proving God exists?
Because he has to exist. He has to.
Okay,
exist.
when you say he has to exist, what is that saying?
Okay. So in this debate, were you trying to hypothetically describe Abrahamic
Hold on.
religion
Wait,
God?
Wait,
Like,
don't
which God are
ask
you
me.
trying to
Okay,
define?
let's get clear. We're just asking whatever conception. All I mean by God is we can work with whatever you mean, or we could just mean the general classical theistic account
The
of
classical
God, which is
version
just
of God. Okay,
it's just,
I can work
it's just a
on that. I can
mind.
work on that.
Sorry,
I can work
it's
on
just a mind that created the universe.
Okay, I can work off
So-
that. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm asking you a question right now.
No, I already have your answer.
You haven't answered the question.
No, I because I asked you a question to get the
Wait,
answer.
no,
So I
you
can get
asked.
clarification to
I
answer
sorry,
your
I
question.
asked you. Okay, so now answer the question.
Okay, cool. So
And also, you didn't need that clarity either.
causation. I think a lot of people have this misconstrued thought of
Wait,
how
wait.
can God create
Hold on. Wait,
God?
are you clear what the question was?
Yes, because causation.
Wait, what was the
typically-
question?
I mean, prove God exists originally, and I asked you a clarifying question.
No, you're not following. The question
Okay,
was,
I'm not
what do you mean
following.
by
Okay, that's fair.
God has to exist? When I said,
Oh, okay.
what do you mean by has to? I said that 3 times.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
that's when you asked for quote unquote clarity about what I mean by God.
Okay, no, I got you. Okay, so anyways, as I was saying, he has to exist predominantly in regards to causation, and I'm
No,
saying
asking you
causation.
wait. Here, I'm asking, what do you mean by has to? Not why does he have to? What does it mean to say
I have
he
a
has to exist?
differential equation that explains boundaries, and it uses different variables to really just, I guess, pinpoint the fact that our human observation, number one, is limited. We can only perceive so much information.
I'm not
It's
understanding
not-
if this
it's-
is an answer, and if
No,
it
no,
is,
but I'm just saying, like,
I'm not
in-
understanding.
in normality-
so let's try and work more slower, because I'm trying to understand. What do you mean by has to? Now, are you saying
Brother,
what he means when you
like,
say has
I am
to? That's somehow
literally
described
trying to
mathematically.
describe a deity.
I'm not asking you
I'm
anything
being
about a deity. Wait. I'm
being
not asking you.
interrupted.
I'm not asking you anything about a deity, right? That's what you're not following.
No,
Look,
Go ahead.
I just want to know what you mean by has to.
the rules of probability. There's Schrodinger's cat, and a lot of people have been stumbled upon how quantum mechanics works in the first place.
Okay, wait.
For example,
so
if the cat is in the box.
Wait. By has to, are you saying the word has to just means some probability?
It's the implication of the multiverse. I'm saying every possibility.
We're not now.
Bro is absolutely on acid right now. Like, it has to be.
The gibberish and avoiding was insane.
It has to be on acid.
I actually would like some acid for real.
What are your thoughts on
Right
Schrodinger?
No clue. I don't know anything about Schrodinger. Okay, what's up, new person?
Hello,
UB. What's up,
Yes.
UB? Which year you want to talk about?
I want to talk about prove God exists.
Okay, do you have an argument God exists? Anne can probably take this one.
I think I do.
All right. Let's hear
Okay.
it.
All right. So, well, I am of the belief that just the fact that there are laws and there are certain elements to the universe that have to be in order.
Okay.
That to me lets me know that there's some force behind it, and that force is God, which means the one. And as humans in our nature, we also have that tendency to have leadership. Leadership is part of who we are as humans.
We got to stick to one point at a time.
Yeah, it
make
is
a
one
few
point.
points. And no. You've already made one point. You've made one point that because there is, order to, our system, then that means that things had to have been, created, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Oh, no.
like, now you moving on to the claim about how humans act or whatever. That's a different claim, right? So we gotta start with one. We'll move to the next. Okay.
Okay.
So with this first one, just imagine, just imagine this puddle wakes up one day and it looks around and it's like, oh, I found myself in some crevice or some hole, maybe a pothole in the road or something. And it thinks to itself like, oh, well, I'm perfectly fitted to this hole. I, fit into all the creases and everything of the hole. And my environment just seems so perfectly made for me. Now, do you think that because the puddle like woke up and thought that one day that meant that in fact the puddle was shaped for, that the environment was shaped for the puddle? Or do you think it just happened to be that, the puddle shaped itself around its environment?
And real quick, I don't want to interrupt. I didn't want to interrupt Anne, but I noticed that you're playing with baby toys in the background.
What?
What?
I heard the baby toy music.
I think you heard my washing machine.
Come on, Anne. We know you're just playing with
I was
baby
like,
toys.
what the hell is he talking
Don't
about?
lie.
No, Monkey Boys. Some of us made it out the hood. Sorry. But anyways.
Okay. So Mike,
I'm out the mud. I don't know what you're talking
What I would
about.
say, what I would say is, what shaped the pond that you're talking about? If the water is whatever is gonna come in there to fit that mold, what created that mold?
No,
Did that
no,
mold
the point,
disappear?
no,
I mean,
the point isn't about the mold being created itself. The point is about if the puddle wakes up and thinks that, does that mean, that the hole was in fact shaped specifically for the puddle? It just happened to rain. We can just say that it just happened to rain and fill some puddle or crevice.
I mean, you're talking about laws of nature, right? Because what you're talking about is laws of nature, wherein you know what I mean. If there's a space and there's water naturally occupies levels out, occupies space. I mean, that's nature. There's nothing we can say about that. That's human nature. That's evident.
You might be.
That's what's going to happen. If water goes into a specific area and it's shaped in a certain way, it's going to form into that shape. There's nothing we can. I mean, that's
Right.
just
Exactly.
That's evident.
It's almost like the environment around it just happened to provide the conditions for the puddle to be shaped the way it is, right?
I mean,
It's not that someone carefully crafted the hole, right?
I mean, but what you're talking about is laws of nature. Those are different. Laws of nature is different. It happens here on Earth. That's a law of nature. We can dig a hole, whatever shape that hole is. If water goes in there, it's going to take the shape of that hole.
what
It could be a
law?
rock. It could be a rock. It could be erosion. It could be anything that can cause something to be in a certain shape. And if water goes in there, it's going to take that shape. So there are different ways that can happen. It doesn't have to be in one way, but
I think what
it
there's
could be erosion.
Okay, well, hold on. I think there's an easier way to go about this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just get clear. Would we agree if some fact wasn't expected, given some explanation, then we can say, let me word this better. Say we have some background fact, right? There's like some fact in a scenario.
Okay.
And we have an explanation or some hypothesis, let's say a proposition, just like a proposition. And that proposition doesn't expect that fact, then that fact isn't evidence. And if it might sound a little abstract, let me give you maybe an example to explain. Say we have a cake on the table, right?
Mm-hmm.
The proposition, there's a cake on the table. And let's say there's a red balloon in the backyard. Do we agree that if I had a cake on the table, we wouldn't expect a balloon in the backyard? So the fact that we have a balloon in the backyard isn't evident for the cake on the table?
And I mean, in a physical sense, yes. In a physical sense.
Okay,
but if I'm focused, for example, let me answer the question.
No.
Let me answer.
You
the
already
question.
answered. You said
no. I didn't answer.
That's all.
It was
Oh,
a long.
okay.
It was a long explanation. Can I also just give?
Wait. It wasn't. Wait. Okay. Okay,
Okay,
look,
go ahead.
all I
Go
need,
ahead. Go
all I
ahead.
need is yes or no. All I need is yes or no.
Well, some questions
Now,
are not just yes or no. You know that.
okay,
Right.
I do know that.
Right.
Now,
Okay.
this was a yes or no question.
Okay.
So now, you said no? Was that correct?
Yes, I said no.
So we agree that if well, let's get clear what we're saying no to. That if some proposition doesn't expect some fact, then that fact's not evidence. We agree, right?
That facts is not evidence.
Yeah, if it's not
You know what?
expected, it's not evidence.
You know what? I would say no. Right. I
No.
would say no. Only because if your focus is on the cake and not the balloon, then your focus is on the cake. So the balloon becomes irrelevant. It's like if I'm
No,
focused
you're
on
not. You're
something,
not
there could be things in
understanding.
the background.
You're not understanding.
Okay,
If
maybe I
a
don't.
fact is, this is actually basic probability theory. It's
Yeah, but you talked
required
about
that
balloon
a
and cake.
proposition. Yeah, I'm trying to explain to you how the fact there's a balloon in my backyard is not evidence that I have a cake on my table right now. If someone showed you that they have a balloon in their backyard, would you think that's evidence that they have a cake on their table inside their house? No, you wouldn't. And the reason why is because the hypothesis or proposition there's a cake on the table does not expect that fact. Now,
Yeah,
here's something that
but you're not
wait.
focused.
I'm trying to explain something to you. Now, here's an example of evidence and why it's required, it's expected. We might think if someone has pieces of frosting on their kitchen floor leading up to the kitchen, that's evidence there's a cake on the table, because we can expect that if there's a cake on the table, it's more likely there's crumbs of frosting on the floor, right? And that fact is expected if there's a cake. That means that's evidence that there's a cake on the table. The fact there's frosting on the floor leading up to the table. Do we agree?
No, I don't agree with that. I don't. And let me.
This guy's too dumb to speak with. I'm just not. Do you think there's gonna be a productive way? I don't know.
No, I genuinely don't think so.
He is denying like basic. Whatever. Hey, which year do you want to talk about?
God exists.
Some like PMARS almost, but yeah, which year? Okay, so God exists. Do you have an argument God exists?
I do, yeah. Have you heard of the transcendental argument?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the argument I'm going to make.
So is P1 if and only if God, then knowledge?
It doesn't depend on only knowledge. That's the Wikipedia version of the transcendental argument.
No.
So it's
I'm asking. So that's not the argument.
I mean, it's more or less the argument, yeah.
Nah, let him cook.
Bruh. Okay, it's more or less the argument. Okay. Well, the point is that you want to say
do you want to
knowledge. It's the one I laid out now. Fine.
No, it's not very sophisticated.
Okay, then give your argument.
Okay, so what is your justification for using logic and reasoning?
That's a question. What's the argument?
Well, the argument is that if you have
also using you understand using logic and reasoning, those aren't propositions. So those aren't things you justify.
No, you do have to justify logic and reasoning.
Wait, you understand justification is strictly for propositions, right?
No. If you want to be able to use, if you want to be able to use logic.
Okay, so then what do you mean? What do you mean by justification?
Justification is essentially is a reason for being able to do something. In this case, the justification for logic is a reason that you are able to use
reasons.
Logic.
Reasons are things that motivate propositions.
No, motivation has nothing to do with it. It's justification.
So then what do you mean? What do you mean by reason?
Well, reason, rationality, logic, these sorts of things, cause and effect. These are things that you have to justify.
Sorry, I'm asking you what. I'm asking you what you mean. I don't even know what that means. I don't know how you keep repeating. We're trying to navigate your language. What do you mean by reason?
Reason is like a summation of things like cause and effect, like regularity of nature. These are things that are included in reason.
What is a summation?
It's a grouping.
Okay, so by reason you mean a grouping of what again?
It's a rational grounding.
I don't know what that means either.
Yeah, I can tell. So the reason
what do you mean by rational grounding?
If you do not believe in God, then you do not have a grounding.
Wait, I'm asking you. Okay, I don't need that claim. I need an analysis.
No, that's
what
the
you mean by rational.
Okay,
but that's not where we're at right now. Right now, we don't need you to make the claim that if I don't believe in God, I don't have a rational grounding. Your task currently is to give an analysis of what you mean by rational grounding.
No, so part of the argument is that your worldview is absurd, and therefore what do you mean? Because of
what do you mean by
my world?
I don't know why it's over. Look, let's stay clear where we're at. We want to know what you mean by rational grounding. What does that mean?
It's a justification.
But now that's a circular definition because I didn't know what justification meant. Then you said reason. Then by reason you meant some grouping, and then you changed it. And then you changed it to rational grounding. And now I don't know what rational grounding means.
You're completely wrong. When I said justification, the definition of justification was a reason to be able to do something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is accurately characterizing what I said. Great. So now then, after
you said justification
by reason,
was rationality. You said justification was rationality.
No, I
That's not
didn't
what
say
I said.
rationality. I
Yes,
did
you
not
did.
say rationality. No, you're
Yes,
not
you did.
tracking.
No,
Great.
if I
You can
say,
say
if, even
you
if
can
you say
say
it's
that's what I. How about this? And did I say what he meant by justification was rationality? No,
No.
I said what you meant by was reason for things.
That's
Specifically reasons to use logic and stuff. But look, I'm trying to understand. Okay, let's calm down. Let's calm down. Let's calm down. Whoa. Wait. Okay, I don't want to mute you, but you don't know how to control yourself. Where we're at is we want to know what you mean by rational grounding.
Dude, if I say a reason to be able
what do you
to...
Okay, wait. What do you mean by rational grounding?
I've already explained what I mean by rational grounding.
Okay, so what do you mean by it?
A rational grounding is it's a meta, I mean, I really don't know. If you don't understand this, it's kind of hard to explain semantically what rational grounding is.
Yeah, precepts don't know what they mean by the language. They use like gibberish. I know.
I was going to say, you use a word and you don't know the meaning.
Yeah, obvious. He's a precept.
There might be some colloquial way that he's using it, and I'm fine with that, but if he can't even point you to examples, like if you can't say, well, you know something's rational if it leads to good outcomes or something. But
no, that's not precept. That's not what the argument is.
Do
The
you
argument
think
is
that
that you don't have a grounding.
Well, and I could charitably interpret rational grounding in a way that does mean justification, but the issue is by justification applies to things other than propositions under
Right, you don't have a justification.
So
You don't have a
that
justification for your
interpretation,
worldview.
so it's not the
do you believe
same
in logic?
It's I don't know, you're over talking me.
Yeah, no, I
And
do.
so it's not the same sense of justification that I can make any sense of.
Yeah.
So there's no, so he's not using any colloquial.
Do you want
I
to
don't know what
explain
he's
to you
just
like, from the
gibbering.
beginning? Do you want to
And no, I don't believe in logic. Logic's not a proposition, right? You can't believe in things that are not propositions. A belief is a belief is a propositional attitude.
Did we get clear on what logic was?
No, a belief is not a propositional attitude. This is like such slop. Look, let me explain to you.
Okay, what do you mean by belief?
If you want to justify your worldview,
what do you mean by belief?
If you want to justify your worldview,
what do you mean by belief?
Can you let me talk, please?
Yeah, if you're going to answer the questions, not if you're going to dodge and monologue. I want to know the answers to what I ask. That's why I asked them. So let's get clear. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by belief?
Belief is just an acceptance of fact. It's not motivated.
A fact is a true proposition.
You have not answered a single question of mine. You have not allowed
Okay, wait. By fact, do you mean true proposition?
You don't even have an answer to what a fact is. That is my point.
Well, look, the issue is you're using language, and right now I don't have an understanding of what you're saying. So we're going down a chain of questions that aim to inform your interlocutor what the argument even is. So currently, you're tasked with explaining the argument to me. I have no apprehension of the language because it seems like it's all gibberish. So currently, you gave an analysis. You gave an analysis I don't know why you're over talking.
You don't have a justification.
Okay. This is your last chance. I will drop you if you continue to overtalk. So by belief, you meant some acceptance of a fact. Now, by fact, do you mean true proposition?
Are you going to speak over me this time, or do you want to let me answer?
You weren't attempting to answer.
I was trying to make an argument. I was trying to make an argument.
No. That just shows you're not tracking. What I asked you is by fact. By fact is what you mean a true proposition. It's either yes, that's what I mean, or no.
Sure. True proposition.
Okay, so then it is a propositional attitude. It's the acceptance of a proposition. Wait, you just reduced it to accepting a proposition, right? Which is just an affirmative attitude towards a proposition.
Okay,
great, you're an idiot. So by a belief, this is I told you, I'll give you one last chance, right? This is literally the last chance. If you overtalk again, you'll get muted. Okay, so by belief, you do mean propositional attitude. Okay. So what was it? Actually, now I'm let me try and pick back up the pieces. What was the belief thing for?
Was it because he said that I think he said something was true. I think he was kind of using like a JTB account, but he was saying something is true if like you believe something, or I don't know.
Does anyone remember what was the belief thing?
I don't want to make my argument or not.
Well, you've already produced the argument. Right now we're trying to understand what the words in the argument mean. I don't know how you're so lost.
Okay. Let me make my argument. Let me make my argument. And you can respond how you like.
Well, hold on. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to stay linear. So calm down. Where we're at is we're trying to understand what it means to justify the use of logic, because I said the use of logic isn't a proposition. You said justification isn't strictly tied to propositions. So I'm trying to understand what you mean by justification. And it seemed like you reduced it down to rational grounding. Now, I don't know what rational grounding means.
No, justification is not rational grounding.
So what is justification?
Justification.
What is justification?
You are using a context fallacy. When I say that justification
all I'm asking you right now is what do you mean by justification?
I'm answering. Justification.
Don't talk about context fallacies. Just tell me what you mean.
I'm trying, but you keep on speaking over me. Justification is...
The reason I spoke over you is because you introduced something that isn't strictly an answer.
You can't argue.
It's not strictly an answer.
Over.
Okay, have a nice day.
I think something when he says, like, what's your justification? All he's asking for is just like, why do you do it? It's like, okay, well, the why is just baked into what logic is.
A causal explanation for why we use logic? Is that kind of what you're interpreting him to be saying?
Maybe. I don't know if it's more like, what do you look to get out of using logic when you use it?
Okay, but that seems like a question of if logic serves utility. Is there like
maybe I really don't actually know. I mean, that's just a possible interpretation. I'm just throwing shit at the wall.
Yeah, well, he was too. So you were actually throwing shit better. You had like some form to the throw, some style. Yeah, I can tell you played softball. Yeah. Anyways, Al, which year you want to talk about?
Topic 3.
Oh yikes! And you could talk about this one. I talked about it too much today.
Oh my god. Well, I don't believe women exist, so I mean, I might agree with him. But why do you think trans women aren't women?
Just kind of break it down by its logic components. A trans woman would be some sort of man that identifies and tries to be perceived as a woman, and then a woman would be an adult human female.
Oh my god.
Obviously, those are not compatible, so...
Okay, first let's just get clear. You do appreciate the distinction between gender and sex, right?
Can you lay out what you mean by that distinction?
Okay, so if you don't know the distinction, what transgender
I'm aware.
people
I'm just
are
trying to
saying...
understand. I'm trying to understand what you're saying by it.
Okay, so just to be clear, what transgender women are saying is that they have a sex that's divorced from their gender. Is that part clear?
Yeah, some do perceive it that way.
Okay, and no, that's just the standard definition of transgenderism. It's not. I don't even think it's polysemitic. I've never seen any other definition. Well, but in any case, all we mean in this context is someone whose gender and sex is divorced. That's clear, right? Now, sex, you understand, refers to something biological, maybe the pair of chromosomes or the size of gametes, right?
Sure.
Okay, and do you maybe have a concept of what gender refers to?
Yeah, there's a lot of different facets of it. Like, some are expectations of sexes, some are, maybe sex characteristics. Some people use that, some use stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so all it means to say that your one gender is culturally and socially relative. The general set of characteristics you have are those that are feminine. And what makes a characteristic feminine is, again, culturally and socially relative. When there's that characteristic is statistically more inclined to being done by the female sex. Right? We would obviously say if there's an agent and it was wearing a male, is it more likely it's a man or a woman or a male or a female? You would suspect it's female, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why you would say wearing dresses is feminine.
Yeah.
Because it's... Okay, so imagine a person who's has breasts, a vagina. They do only things girls do. They have like a community of girlfriends that they gossip. They do all feminine activities like going to the mall, knitting, getting their face painted or nails done, manicures, whatever, right? They have a ponytail, etc., right? Every characteristic is that which is feminine. And they have XY chromosomes. We agree there. That's a trivial example of someone's transgender, right? There should be no hang up.
Hold on. You said XY person acts as a woman broadly.
Yeah, they're a male in sex, and they're a gendered woman.
Yeah, I don't think from what you said they're necessarily going to be transgender. No.
They're by definition transgender in the scenario I described.
Only
what it means to be transgender.
Hold on. What?
No. The scenario is a trivial analytic example of a transgender woman. To be clear, transgender woman means your sex and gender are divorced. The scenario is a male who has a woman gender. What it means to be gendered as a woman is that the general set of your characteristics are feminine. The scenario I described is not even generally; it's every characteristic is feminine. Every. So
yeah,
that
you didn't say they were male.
Qualifies as transgender.
Yeah, you didn't say they were
male. I said their XY chromosome is male.
Yeah, well, we established a broader definition of sex earlier that includes gametes.
What was the broader?
And people can produce large gametes and still have XY chromosomes. So, and broadly, my definition would be based off of their primary sex.
Okay, so whatever. We can say they're biologically a male, whatever those biological qualifications are, and they're still a woman, trivially.
Yeah, that would mean they transitioned and would be a trans woman. Yeah.
Okay, so then we agree that it's possible a woman can be transgender. Now that part's clear.
Oh, no, I think we've divorced it because I don't think they're a woman. You've clarified that I don't think they're a woman. You've clarified they're male. In the previous layout, you didn't clarify they were male.
You're not tracking. Jesus, you're terrible at tracking. I qualified in the scenario all their traits are feminine. And what I took to be female gender is when the general range of characteristics had by an agent are feminine. Now, when the criterion is general, which might even be fuzzy, at least it being every characteristic being feminine obviously qualifies them as women. Now we stipulated they are a male sex and a female gender. Is that clear? Or woman, they're a woman.
Right, and I'm clarifying that I don't think they're a woman because they're a male.
We will certainly.
By definition.
No, okay, I can clarify why.
Wait, are you equivocating?
I'll clarify why.
Wait,
So,
are you equivocating though?
What are you equivocating? What?
What you mean by woman?
I'm using the definition I gave you earlier.
No, I'm using my look. You're not tracking this. What I mean.
You asked me for my definition.
No, I asked you for your definition. Wait, I asked you earlier. I asked you if you appreciated the distinction. You said no. Then I asked you if you had any concept of gender. Then I described what gender actually meant, and I said this is how it's obvious. Or actually, I was trying to explain to you how it's at least first logically possible, right? With the scenario where someone obviously qualifies. That's what I was doing. All I mean, again, is the range of characteristics had of an agent are generally feminine. Is that clear? That's what I mean by woman gender.
Okay, sure.
Or female gender, whatever.
So anytime I agree that means woman in your understanding, I'll say woman monkey, and then I'll say woman whenever I'm referring to.
No. We're not going to equivocate. By gender, this is what we're going to mean. If by gender you just use that synonymous with sex, then you're not appreciating the distinction, because sex refers to what you described about gametes and chromosomes. What gender refers to is a social archetype that culturally relative and socially relative is the general characteristics had of an agent that are either feminine or masculine.
Sure. In your worldview, do masculine women exist?
So wait, we're not going to pivot.
No, I'm trying to understand your understanding. Why am I not allowed to inquire on your worldview?
We're still
because that is nonsensical. How does a masculine woman fit?
Okay, I don't want to mute you, but it seems like you're making it inevitable. So let's try and be civil and remain.
Go ahead.
We're on the scenario where there's a person who is stipulated to have only feminine characteristics. Now, if what we mean by a woman, is some agent who's, thanks for the galaxy. Wait, was that for me? Yeah, thank you. Star. So now that we're clear, a woman is some agent whose general set of characteristics are feminine. Then we agree in the scenario where all the person or that given agent. Oh, thanks for the other galaxy. Where the agent in that scenario is. Wait, Jesus Christ.
What the fuck?
Thanks, Star. Yeah, Star is goated out here.
Yo, send me a galaxy. What the hell?
Send her like a half a galaxy. We don't want her to get that close to me.
I don't know who her is, but.
Okay. So yeah, in the scenario where someone has all feminine characteristics and all that is sufficient to analytically qualify as being a woman in the context of gender is having generally feminine characteristics, then the scenario where someone has all feminine characteristics is what we mean by woman, and it's stipulated they're a male sex. So that's a transgender person. Another galaxy, dang.
Got you. So a transgender person has to meet like all these qualifications of femininity. I'm not sure you really laid them out either. And of course,
so
sex
the range
is a
of
qualification of
characteristics,
femininity, right?
The range of characteristics. Dude, there's like background noise in your thing.
Y'all just came up here.
I think me and Davey came up here for the same reason.
Yeah, for getting gifts.
Oh, look, I requested before that happened.
Who is
That's
this
true.
person?
That's true.
That
Actually,
has to be at least like $8 now.
The galaxy.
I literally thought that means that you know I requested
That's
more
my
than
phone.
another.
Back. What happened? Wait.
I said I literally taught you everything you know about every topic, so I should get like some kind of cut.
What? I taught Monkeyboy about gender.
That's neither of you. Okay, y'all are both.
Monkeyboy, what if I taught you about? I taught you about something.
But y'all should donate. That's actually true. You taught me about was it relational designating?
Relational designating accounts. Yeah, meta.
Yeah. Okay. But I want to. I don't want to.
And Dead by Daylight.
You didn't. Well, technically, you sent me videos that I didn't watch to learn.
That's your fault, buddy.
But we gotta play like tomorrow or something. I keep saying we're gonna play, but we need to get Ann and get Mom.
Let's play later tomorrow, dude. No text tomorrow.
Well, I keep telling you to remind me, but okay. So in the scenario, it's clear the person is a woman now. Hopefully, that's clear, and they're a male. Is that clear or not?
Yeah, in your layouts of those words. Yeah.
Okay, and that's how it's generally used by folk people, psychologists, and gender study experts. The same way the language I'm using, this is actually standardly the way that people use it. They don't use gender language to refer to sex.
Of gender?
Yeah, most people do not have biological devices like chromosomes and gametes. So they obviously don't mean that. Unless you want to bite the bullet and say they're saying something meaningless, that's an alternative where either they mean something different or they're saying something meaningless.
They base it off of perceived sexual development.
Oh, thanks for the R2.
Wait, perceived sexual development. What are you talking about? So like, hold on. When you go to the store and you're like, I don't know if they have this item here. Let me go ask that woman over there. Did you like karyotype them or like ask them about their gamete size or ask them to lift?
No, but he said perceived, so it's intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's,
oh, thanks.
But like that's where that's where I'm skeptical. I think like when they're deploying that concept, it seems that like it's not.
No. Of course, I'm skeptical of that. I was just saying. I don't think he's saying what you said. He's saying.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like so strange. I understand he wants to say something like there's some induction from the certain maybe visual anatomy and their certain genetic facts like gametes and chromosomes, but you don't actually have like like any. I would presume maybe close to any sample or maybe a survey of instances in which people have those types of string of chromosomes or gametes. Do you?
Well, I can give two other like counterexamples. For example, take children. They grow up knowing who mommy and daddy are, and oftentimes actually confuse other adults for mommy and daddy, right? But they don't know their chromosomes. They don't know, in fact, they could think if they have two moms that one of them is actually like the dad just because culturally they see other kids with a mom and a dad. And then the other counterexample is that for all of human history, there's been at least a good chunk of that time period where we had no idea that chromosomes exist, but we still called men and women men and women.
Yeah,
we still made a distinction.
Yeah, okay. I can explain this, right? So when I say, when you're asking me about the supermarket and, you see somebody, right, you just perceive people, and then within your head, you can figure out whether they're probably a male or probably a woman. That's like how people determine whether someone's a woman or a man when they go out and see people, right? And so when I say perceive, though, you can go further in depth, right? A doctor is going to be able to perceive more, maybe they're trying to, there's ambiguous genitalia on a kid when it's born, and they're trying to figure out whether they're a man or a woman. Then they'll actually use, maybe a genetic test, and then get more clarity from it with that. And so there's different levels of perception that you can operate within the world.
I don't think that responded to what anyone on the panel said.
Well, y'all asked me like a million different things, and it was based on like me, not fully explaining my understanding of these terms, right? So that should clarify your misconception.
Anne was talking about the historical use of these gender devices and how they historically were never used to refer, or at least in the general span of time, were never used to refer to gametes or chromosomes, because those devices.
Yeah, that's why I said sexual development pathway. Sexual development pathway is part of my definition. You're using gametes and chromosomes. That's not my conceptualization.
Wait,
that's yours.
Sexual development just has logically. Okay, so logically, prior to knowing the development of a sex, we need to know a sex. And do you understand how gender language, for most of history, did not have concepts of sex which refer to gametes and chromosomes? Is that part clear? We didn't know the development of sexes because sexes weren't had until the modern era.
Yeah, we knew women and men existed, right?
Okay, so there's some like anthropological fact about gender not used the way that you described.
Like, I mean, we didn't know about chromosomes or, I fully agree with that, but we knew about sexual development pathways, which is the basis of my understanding of the word. And so the confusion is on your understanding of sex, and that is what lays out this new history of it, whereas my understanding uses a more general term that reaches further back into human knowledge and connects with that.
I feel like these kind of debates are pointless because the whole thing is you're just using proprietary language.
I think this person brought up a really good point in chat. J-Mike doesn't know metalogic.
Oh yeah.
Oh, thanks for more guesses.
Hold on, let me actually approve that comment so everybody can see it.
I did. I approved it.
Yeah. Like I love. Oh man,
How do you pin comments? I want to know how to do that.
I don't know. For some reason on your thing, it's like I can actually approve them or whatever. But it's really funny when I talk to the Jay Dyer fan base that like don't understand like when metalogic's dealing with like the semantics or scope of some logical system. I think it's like this like other thing, like this like before argument. It's so fucking weird, man.
But, J-Mike, did you get to watching that video with Cade, the Dyer girl, fangirl?
No, I don't think so. No.
I tried sending to you.
I could say something, but my lawyer told me not to say something at the moment for my benefit. But there's been a lot going on, and it's in my benefit. It's coming towards me, so it'll be great. So, but I'll let you know what I've been busy with.
J-Mike, does language assume logic?
That's so stupid when people say that.
Well, that's what Jay Dyer said to me when I just asked him. Like, I just was like, "Hey, I was just wondering, if you could give me the contradiction entailed by God's non-existence." And I ended up in that video clipping like Avi and a bunch of other people asking him because in that conversation, I've never backed off that claim. So I was like, okay, great. So he's like, never backed off this claim.
Objects?
Huh?
Blur versus Hume on platonic objects in nameless debates.
Versus who?
Hume.
Hume, that's probably an anime debater.
Hume __.
No, like
David Hume.
Yeah, David Hume.
Yeah, David Hume.
Yeah, but that's probably an anime debater.
You read the
More Star.
Dude, that was the first book I ever bought. I don't know. You guys want to? I play this game with people. Let's see if you guys. Okay, so the first book I ever bought off the shelf, An Inquiry Concerning Human Understanding by David Hume. If you fucking flip to any random page here and put your finger on a random sentence, it'll be 3 semicolons, like two or 3 commas, 2 more fucking colons.
You said this on a live actually recently. I saw it and I was cracking up that you read like a paragraph. It was just nonstop like.
Who's a worse writer, Hume or Kant?
Well, I haven't I've spent more time trying to read Hume than Kant, so Kant. I would say Hume, but that's probably wrong. Yeah.
I've literally only read Kant from like sources interpreting him. I've never read the primary just because I know he's such a terrible writer.
Literally what I did with Hume, I was just listening to like commentaries on his work because I was like, I don't fucking understand this.
What's so funny about that thing about language assuming logic? I've actually recently talked with a precept and asked, when you say, what do you mean by language presupposes logic? And he said that language has logical structure, and I said by logical structure is what you mean that it uses the symbols, syntax, and turnstiles of like a logic. And he's like, you're just complicating it. I just mean it has logical structure. And he had no analysis of what that meant. I'm like, well, I don't take it that language is an arithmetic. So I'm not, and he had like no clue what he was saying.
do want to go back to this this guy L here that thinks that.
I mean, all this guy is
women
doing
the
is
same
like
way.
equivocating. I don't know what else
Have
is
you like? Have you
interesting
tried
about
like?
this person.
I mean,
you tried, like,
you're just not understanding my conceptions here. I think that's
No,
the problem.
you said, well, you know, a man and a woman are these sets of biological traits, and trans people don't disagree with you. They're not incorrect about that. They're saying, look, we know that you guys have this particular way of using the word man and woman in a gendered, like, social way. We know that, you know, you look at somebody who's wearing a dress and has a ponytail and you go, oh, look at that woman over there. And you don't think twice about whether or not that person, you know, has a vagina or a penis or something like that. They're just saying, hey, we're using the word in that way. Kind of like how, you know, Americans have developed slang for cap. Holy shit, thank you. Americans have developed slang like the word cap, right? But in some other culture, that might not be the case. They might look at you and go, like, I don't know what you're saying. Right. So trans people have just, you know, looked at how society is using a word and, you know,
Whoa, thank you.
Yeah, using it differently. Yeah, I
no,
fully
they're not
understand
using,
that.
no,
Yeah.
that's where you're confused. They're not using it differently. They're using it in the way that it's been used for
Yeah, like
forever.
just imagine somebody came up to you and was like, I identify as like a fire hydrant, right? Let's use like the most crazy example of it, right? And they said that to you, and then like it was actually the case in this hypothetical that they were like shaped kind of like a fire hydrant. They were red, like dogs peed on them, you know, like they squirted out water in certain areas of their body. Like, let's just imagine, like, hypothetically, that they fit these kind of characteristics or traits that we associate with fire hydrants, right? And when they tell you, like, look, you know, you could do this with a fire hydrant, and they could identify as Wesley Snipes, right? And when we assess the characteristics, properties, or traits of whatever they're identifying with, if we went down this checklist, and it was really the case that they were red, it was really the case they were shaped like a fire hydrant, it was really the case that dogs peed on them, you wouldn't disagree that their identity heavily is associated with those characteristics that we attribute to fire hydrants, right?
I'm gonna start gibberating and then say I identify as Monkeyboy.
But would you disagree in the hypothetical that if somebody was really like that they share those traits or those characteristics, right?
Yeah, if somebody dressed like a watermelon and they say they're watermelon. I
Yeah, great, but
like
they
what's
would
going
also
on.
tell you that they're not actually physically a fire hydrant, right? They wouldn't go, oh, I'm actually a fire hydrant. But I have this like set of characteristics or traits that we often associate with fire hydrants, right?
Right.
So what I mean by when I use the terms, like my term usage, when I say I identify as a fire hydrant, I mean it in this like meeting this kind of threshold of these characteristics that we often associate. So if you understand it that way, I struggle to
I have
see
a question for you now for clarification, because would I be expected to treat this person like a fire hydrant now? Is that like, because that's a part of this question.
Look, if you agreed that if we went down this like giant checklist and they were like associated with all of those things, you would just agree that they are. You would agree that when they identify by that, that they check off all of those characteristics.
We're both aware that they're not.
The question about how you should act towards them, but you're just equivocating that by fire hydrant in the context of what the person is just the set of facts or characteristics generally associated with a fire hydrant, not like meeting this like more robust like criterion that makes the definition of a fire hydrant.
Right.
Yeah. So in one sense, they're a fire hydrant, in another, they aren't.
Right, and you know when I'm talking with clear.
But the question about
language,
how you should treat people is like a different question, right? We're just talking about if all we mean in one sense is that they have a general, considering the array of facts or characteristics, that the general set of characteristics they have lean more towards this thing, then that's sufficient to qualify them that thing. That's all we mean. And I made that clear with the trans example where someone has, large gametes or small gametes and XY chromosomes whilst having breast, vagina, and doing everything a woman would do, right? Like going to the mall, gossiping, painting their nails, having a ponytail, wearing dresses. Yeah, we're saying that considering all the characteristics are feminine whilst they're a male, right? That's all we mean by woman, that the general set of characteristics are feminine.
Right, but ultimately, this hypothetical you gave, no trans woman actually meets that threshold, right? This isn't actually interfacing.
You would just need to give that's like a very strong empirical claim. You would just have to give an argument for. I think most trans women actually meet those criteria.
Monkeyboy?
I consider facts. What's up?
Why can't I mute people?
By the way, the guy is Meki says it's a simple question. Like when you say
I want to mute this guy who says J Mike denies meta logic, but there's no mute option.
No, it's actually entertaining and so minded. But the thing that I'm bothered by is, would it be true that no human minds? It's like, what are you asking me? And he says, it's a simple question. I don't know what you're asking me. Would it be true that no human minds existed? What the fuck does that mean? Would it be
existed
true?
past tense? like 5 seconds ago? Of course they existed 5 seconds ago.
I don't think there's anything more to talk with about Al. Hopefully that should just be clear, the semantics of gender. I want to move to something more interesting. The thing everyone in the chat's been waiting for. J Mike versus P Mars. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my god, what the hell?
Yeah, you got some.
Mike versus, you're talking about like
the some crazy 6,000 points.
Damn, that's
awesome.
Like
$500. You know, it's like $1,000 right there.
But that is a lot for my boy Aaron. Thank you.
Yeah, Phil Dragon's the go. He's like a cool viewer.
Nice.
He sounds good too. Cool. Oh my god.
Yeah,
who is saying this?
He's a really cool viewer. I really like his money. I mean contributions to chat.
Well, he doesn't type a lot, but he's one of the people who actually tap the screen, which, to be honest, a lot of people don't interact.
Aaron's awesome, dude. Aaron's a really cool guy. We're writing music together right now, so.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we should write music.
Yeah, you two should too.
Yeah, Davey, get on board with this, man.
Monkeyboy, it's fucking gay.
I'll listen to that, dude. I would be jamming that in university, and then someone's asking, "What are you listening to?" And I take off my headphones and I hear that. I'm like, "Isn't that shit fire?"
Joe,
And
I
I'll
give you
made
like
that.
the harder metal version. Monkeyboy is gay.
And then
Yeah.
and then the bridge is like wait, do you know the bridge of the show must go on by Queen? You know that part, J Mike? The bridge?
I mean, I'm not gonna sing it, but yes.
It should be like that, and it's talking about how gay he is. You know, like really soft and delicate.